What is going on, everybody? Today we are ranking all the brand new Legend ZA Mega Evolutions coming to Pokémon Champions. And to help me in ranking these, I am joined by Scooteezy VGC, who is an excellent VGC YouTuber who really knows his stuff, so if you want to get better at the game, definitely check his channel out. We actually did another video ranking all of the returning Mega Evolutions, so go check it out on his page as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the ranking. What is up, everybody? Thanks for coming along, and I want to invite my special guest to go ahead and give himself an intro. Scooteezy VGC, thanks for joining me.
Hello, thank you for having me. How are we doing today?
We're doing good, man. I appreciate you jumping on this video. If you guys are coming from the other video we just did on his channel, welcome back to the other part where we're covering all the new Mega Evolutions from Legend ZA. And without further ado, Scooteezy, we're going to be starting off with Raichu Mega X. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
So Raichu X, it's a really interesting one, right? Because we know from Legend ZA that it appears to have like some built-in ability where whenever it clicks Volt Tackle, it gets +1 attack. I will say, looking at this Pokemon's like, base form, its stats aren't crazy. Like the 135 attack, it's cool, but for a Mega, it's not amazing. Like there are a lot of Megas with a lot higher attack stats. The 110 speed is a little lackluster. I kind of wish it was like 120. The bulk is cool, like 95 in each defense is alright. The HP is kind of low, but the real question for me is like, one, what's its ability going to be? And two, is it linked to this Volt Tackle thing? Because if all of a sudden it gets a +1 attack every time it clicks Volt Tackle, I think that's pretty broken. But yeah, I think that's kind of the big thing. I think stats-wise, it's a little underwhelming, but its ability is going to be really what I think carries these Pokemon.
I'm totally with you on that. I feel like, I know the Legend ZA mod has Levitate, which would be cool, and it lines up with its Dex description, but the Volt Tackle +1 is something to be intriguing, because I feel like Mega Raichu X suffers from the fact that it's not a special attacker, and base Raichu probably wants to run Lightning Rod. So when you don't have that plus side ahead of time, it's kind of a weird situation, unlike Mega Raichu Y. So I'm with you on that. I personally feel like this is a B tier mon, unless it gets something crazy ability-wise. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's correct, right? And I think it is the perfect mon for like good in the right format, because again, from what we understand, there are a lot of Pokemon that have their abilities baked in, right? For example, we saw Mimikyu had Disguise, even though the game doesn't have Disguise. Mimikyu, had Disguise built in. There's another Pokemon later on in the list that we'll talk about where we're pretty sure, they adjusted certain things to, bake in the ability. So having an ability, I think, that does give it +1 attack when it specifically clicks Volt Tackle is very interesting. It does make it seem like it's going to be a unique ability. So it is going to be interesting to see what they do with that there. Raichu, though, also as a physical attacker, right? It has a bunch of different options. It does have Fake Out, which, like, again, is, like, pretty cool, right? We've seen other, restricted things like Mega Kangaskhan in the past, be these, like, Fake Out mons with, like, a couple of attacks. Obviously, Raichu does get access to Extreme Speed as well, which does, give it, one of the best priority moves in the game. And if you do have something like a Volt Tackle giving you +1 attack, all of a sudden Extreme Speed's off that stat is going to be kind of crazy. But in saying that, like, it does have decent physical coverage, right? It does get things like knockoff and whatnot, but it doesn't really have the best ways of hitting, like, ground types, right? It doesn't have, like, I'm looking through the list myself right now, like, the only thing it really has that hits ground types is, like, Trailblaze, and, like, maybe that's cool because, again, it gives it, like, that +1 speed that is kind of lacking, but yeah, I don't know, I think probably B tier is the best way to put it for now, unless its ability is just like completely absurd. Yeah, I don't think it can go too much higher than that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There is a potential, at least, for Mega Raichu X to be like the strongest physical electric type attacker that we've seen outside of Mythicals, so that is an upside it has going for it. But let's go ahead now. I think we're both confident with B tier. Let's go ahead and move on to Mega Raichu Y, which I would personally argue might be A tier, if only because of what we were saying with Lightning Rod. The fact that it gets potential +1 special attack boost in base, and then can Mega Evolve to have that 160 special attack with a really confident 130 speed. I find this Pokemon to be something that stands out personally compared to a lot of other ones that we've seen so far. So I think it's A tier, but I'm curious what you think.
Oh, I think it's certainly one of the ones from this, from ZA that has the most potential to be kind of absurd, right? The 130 speed stat is very, very good. There are very few Pokemon, even Mega-wise, that outspeed it. There is also the fact that it has just a ridiculous 160 special attack, paired up with what, you kind of mentioned before, where it has, Lightning Rod, as we mentioned, does have access to Fake Out. So I could definitely see a world where, you start with base Raichu, you go Fake Out, someone clicks Discharge, right? You pair it with an ally, and then all of a sudden you have this, ridiculously strong Pokemon that basically is +1, and all they had to do was click Fake Out. On top of that as well, there is a lot of speculation that Raichu could potentially get electric terrain. I really do hope that we get to see a Mega with electric terrain. I think it would be very, very good. Yeah, Electric Surge. I think if it got Electric Surge, this Pokemon all of a sudden becomes absolutely broken in the right formats. If it got Electric terrain and you pair it up with any of the future Paradox Pokemon eventually way down the line, I think it would be kind of nutty. But the other thing I think it has going for it as well is Raichu just has a really good special move pool, right? If you look at its special moves, it has so much coverage, right? It's kind of crazy. Obviously being a Pikachu, that, how much it actually does get. It gets things like Grass Knot, it gets Surf, Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, like it gets Gleam. Actually, I think it got Gleam as well. In the recent, what's it called, ZA. I don't think it had it prior.
Oh, did it? That's awesome.
Another interesting one as well. If we are looking at something like Electric Surge, it does have Rising Voltage, which, again, like we're talking about broken, right? Rising Voltage in electric terrain would be that's a one-shot nuke button, right? Like it doesn't matter if you resist it. Like you are not taking Rising Voltages that well.
I honestly think your point about it getting potentially Electric Surge, I honestly would argue it might make it S tier at that point, because you would elevate
that
so
would make
many
it
Pokemon.
Yeah, I think at that point, it is easy S tier. Again, we're making an assumption here. Like, I don't want to be like, oh my god, it's S tier, because we really don't know what its ability is, right? Like, this is, I think, purely based on stats. It's very fast. It hits really hard. Again, Pikachu just has really good coverage moves because it is the mascot of the franchise. So I am comfortable putting it in A tier, but I definitely think, again, and look, maybe this is me looking into it too much. These are the Raichu forms, right? These are the evolutions of the mascots of the franchise. I think they're both going to get broken abilities, right? Again, I think Raichu X is probably going to get something that is kind of absurd, and I think Raichu Y will as well.
I totally agree with you. I think they owe it to Pikachu and Raichu to finally make them competitively viable outside of like niche meme teams.
Yeah, no, I am 100% with you.
All right, well, moving on then, we now have Mega Clefable, and I would say that this is probably on the lower tiers, if only because Togekiss already exists, and it kind of is the same Pokemon. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, look, I think you're right. Now, like, I don't want to knock Clef, just because it's like, Togekiss is a really good Pokemon. Like, we've seen Togekiss literally dominate formats in the past, like back in the Sword and Shield era, so like, I personally think this is probably going to be B tier. It is going to depend on its ability. I think that's the big thing going for it, right? Is like, what's its ability going to be? Like, if they gave this thing Friend Guard and then it had like those stats, then it's like, okay, this is kind of broken, right? Because again, you can play it similar to the way you play, Togekiss, right? Where it's like you go like, obviously I know Kiss was, I think Gleam Air Slash was its like stab moves of choice. So this would probably be something like Air Slash Moonblast, like Follow Me Protect, which is pretty good. I believe it also has access to setup moves that Kiss doesn't. I don't think Kiss gets Calm Mind, where this guy does, which I do think is one of the the main things going for it, right? Is like Clef does have the options like Calm Mind, where you could just run this straight up as a special attacker. Its natural bulk is also really good, like 95, 93, 110 is like really, really good. I do think the biggest thing holding it back there is that speed stat. Obviously, like, it's not bad, right? Like, as a balance piece where you're just kind of investing into bulk and damage, it's like, it's fine, right? But again, it's the opportunity cost of it, right? It's like, I don't think this is bad, but it probably needs the right format to thrive in. It's like, are you really going to play Mega Clef in a format where Metagross is running around? And I think that's kind of the big issue with this mon.
Yeah, that's fair. And I feel like as a special attacker, Fairy type, like, just to like harken back on like Fluttermane, like the bulk for Mega Clefable is higher, but the special attack's the same, the speed is way lower, so you kind of get into a weird spot where like, are you running an offensive Clefable, or are you going to do some kind of hybrid support follow me user? Like, I feel like you get put in a weird spot, which you're not going to necessarily like, where you could have like dedicated Clefairy or dedicated Clefable, and the flying type to me doesn't really add much to the Fairy type. Like, you're not dissuading any of its previous weaknesses. You're just adding more. So that makes it kind of hard, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, again, the typing is really good. Like, we've seen Togekiss be really good with this typing, but I do think that's going to be its biggest problem is Togekiss is, like, I don't want to say it's, like, the better mon, because stat-wise, technically, Clef is better, but it's, like, it's the opportunity cost. It's Clef needs to hold a Mega Stone, Kiss can hold any other item, and that's why it's like, for me, it's probably B to C tier, somewhere in between. Like, I don't know if I can put it on the same tier as Mega Raichu X.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking C tier.
Well, yeah. At the same time, it might end up being, like, high C tier, but I guess we can kind of play around with that as we go on.
All right, I'm cool with C tier for now. I do feel like Mega Raichu X probably stands up a little bit higher, but I'm with you on C tier. I think it could be good, but it doesn't feel like a Mega worth going for.
Yeah, exactly. It just comes down to opportunity cost at the end of the day, and I think that's a issue that a lot of Mega Pokemon are going to have. And that's why, like, specifically, like, I do hope we get formats where they do say straight up ban the top 10, top 20 Megas, so ones like this have a chance. But when you look at what's good, it's going to be really hard to justify it, I think.
Absolutely. Well, moving on, we now have Mega Victreebell, and do you have anything positive to say about this Mega?
No. Like, its issue is its stats are just shit, right? Like, you look at them, it's like, it's a mixed attacker that gained, like, it gained no speed. Yeah, it gained a little bit of bulk, but like what was it? Was it just like it gained like 20 in each stat, right? Or like 20, 25 in each stat?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I don't know what this thing does. Like, again, there's always a world where it gets a broken ability, right? And that's probably what it's like relying on, but it was already worse Venusaur in base form. Like, Venusaur was just the better chlorophyll guy. And it's like, I'm looking at this now, and it's like, well, if it loses chlorophyll, it's slower than Venusaur. It hits for as hard as Venusaur. It's also not as bulky as Venusaur. So it's like, what is it doing that Venusaur isn't? Like, I don't know. Like, it's gonna need something broken. Like, I was gonna say, even if they, like, keep chlorophyll on it, right? Because, like, obviously Mega Venusaur loses chlorophyll, but then it's like, well, you can't run it with Charizard Y, so it's like, you don't want it to be in Sun anymore. Yeah, I don't know. This thing is, like, probably content tier. I actually love its design. I think design-wise, it's like, I love how goofy it is, but I just don't think it's ever gonna see play unless its ability is, like, completely and utterly broken. Like, there's a chance this goes from, like, F to A tier, but it's gonna need something really special to do that.
For me, the only way you could save Mega Victreebell is if they finally made Corrosion hit Steel types for super effective with poison moves. I think Corrosion as is it needs to be reworked. Just being able to poison a Steel type isn't good enough. But if they gave Victreebell Mega a Corrosion plus that you could actually hit super effective on Steel types, then, like, Steel Fairy types are going to be shaking in their boots. They're not going to want to go against Mega Victreebell because you got a 4 times weakness.
So I'm with you on that. Like, I actually think Corrosion needs a big buff, but I actually don't think this Pokemon is even the main benefit from that on this tier list.
That's
like, there's another Pokemon further down that I think would benefit from that 10 times more than I think Victreebell would.
Hey, that's fair, and I guess with that, I think we got it on the F tier for sure. So now, next up, we got Mega Starmie, which I will say was very popular design-wise, if not a little bit polarizing. But I actually think it's going to be okay. Like, having a mixed attacker like Mega Starmie, where it's like 100 attack and 130 special attack with the potential to have pure power it's pretty sweet, actually.
So I've personally gone back and forth on this a lot, right? We probably should talk about pure power before we jump into it. So for anyone, I guess, who doesn't know, in Legend ZA, any Pokemon, obviously because, again, the game didn't have abilities, right? So any Pokemon that had pure power or huge power, they were basically just given a bonus 40 points to their attack stat, right? So we saw this with things like Mega Mawile, we saw it with Medicham. I'm sure there's another Pokemon I'm missing, right? Basically, Mega Starmie also fell into that category, right? So Mega Starmie had 140 base attack. So when we first saw this Pokemon, it had 140 stat point gain. So a lot of people were like, what? That's crazy. Like, why does this Mega get 140 stats and the rest only get 100? And it just turns out because everything that could get huge power or pure power got that extra 40 points into the attack stat. Now, in saying that, originally I was like, nah, I don't think Starmie is going to be all that good. But then I kind of realized that this thing is just like Urshifu Light in a sense. I think on balance, this thing is actually kind of broken with huge power. I think the way in particular it pairs with Incineroar as like a defensive type is very, very good. They both cover each other very, very well. And while I don't want to like jump the gun and say this thing's going to be broken, I could see a world where this is like the new water type on the Fire Water Grass cores, especially in early champions.
I'm totally with you. I could definitely see that. And I feel like just some moves I put on here, like Aqua Jet, Flip Turn, and Expanding Force as options. Like if it does have pure power, getting to double up your attack but still have that 130 special attack means that Expanding Force is still a valuable move.
And yeah, look, that's the thing, right? Because I think it got Scold as well, right? So, like we don't know what's going to happen with Scold in Champions, unfortunately. But like, I mean, as you said, right, I do think something like Scold, Expanding Force, Protect, and then like, I don't think it gets Plot. Does it get Calm Mind? I feel like it gets Calm Mind, right? And doesn't even get Calm Mind, actually. It's kind of sad.
No Calm Mind.
But even something like Flip Turn, right? Where it's like, maybe it's like, you know, Scold, Expanding Force, Flip Turn on a special set, I think could be really good. Again, when it comes to the physical side of things, right? Something like Flip Turn, Double Stab, Protect could also be really good. Because I also think it does get Bulk Up as well, which is like, again, like kind of worth at least mentioning, right? Is like, it does have the option of something like Bulk Up, Liquidation. I don't think it gets Psychic Fang, so it probably would have to be Zen Headbutt. Honestly, at that point, you're probably running a different physical move altogether. I don't think you'd want to run Zen Headbutt. Yeah. So it's like, I don't actually know what its like physical move pool is. Like, I don't know. Like, what does it actually get that you could replace?
It has Aqua
like,
Jet.
It's actually, it's not good. I'm looking right now. It's not good at all. Yeah. Like, it probably actually does just have to be like Zen Headbutt or like...
It does have Psycho Cut, which is okay.
Yeah. I mean, it gets Triple Axle. I mean, that hits the grass types, right? But then you don't have a way to hit water types, I guess, but... Yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, I'm going to conservatively put it in the B tier.
I'm with you on that. I think that's a fair...
I honestly, as I mentioned, I could see this thing paired up with Incineroar Boom being an absolute menace, right? It's, like, I did some damage calcs. It is almost as good as Urshifu. Like, I think if it got Wave Crash, it actually just might straight up be better than Urshifu. Actually, I shouldn't say better than Urshifu, because Urshifu hits through Protect and nothing else does. But, yeah, I could see a world where, like, again, I don't think we even spoke about it. This thing's base stats are stupid. Like, everything is over 100, but it's HP. So it's like, and again, this is where I go back to it being like a balance mon, right? Where it's like, you could easily just max this thing's HP out. You know, you honestly don't even have to invest much into its attack to make it kind of stupid, right? So it allows you to invest in bulk. You know, it naturally outspeeds a lot of Pokemon. So yeah, I could see a world where this thing's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on B tier for now because we don't really know. If we were talking singles, I might think this is like an S tier Pokemon, to be honest with you. But
I think, yeah, in singles it's probably broken.
Because it's a rapid spinner too, with easy flip turn moves. Like, that seems pretty crazy. But I'm with you on B tier. I think that's a solid spot for it. All right, our next up is Mega Dragonite, which is also another polarizing Pokemon design. I actually really like it. I think that this Pokemon, depending on what its ability is, obviously a lot of these are going to be like this. If they gave this Pokemon Drizzle, I think it immediately goes to at least A, if not lower S, just because that's so valuable as a Dragon Flying type. But I think as it stands right now, I'm kind of on the fence between A and B.
So, there have been two abilities I've seen a lot of people throw around. Drizzle and No Guard are like the main ones. They're both kind of used for the exact same reason, right? It's just to make sure that like your Hurricanes connect, which is kind of why I think people discuss them. I will say, I do think making it a Drizzle setter is really cool. And I've been on the record saying this a lot. I really do hope we get a Drizzle Mega. It's the only weather that doesn't have a Mega right now. I do believe they wouldn't give it to a water type, so I do think Dragonite or Drampa in particular are like the two Megas that potentially could be the Drizzle guys. Also, and another one as well I think worth mentioning is Friend Guard. So if you read the Dex entry they give this thing, or they give the Mega in ZA, it talks about it like rushing to its allies' aid and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of speculation around Friend Guard as well. I think a mon with these stats would be kind of broken because it's like, you know, you kind of want to gun it down because it's really offensive, right? But then it's like, you know, you can protect it and whatnot and play these like really weird mind games. I will say its stats, it's a bit unfortunate. It's like become a special attacker, but I also think it helps to, I guess, make it separate from Mega Salamence in a sense, even though Mega Salamence likes to run special anyway with Hyper Voice. But look, I think, it's a stat stick, right? It has base 700 stats. It's Dragonite. I'm sure it's going to get a good ability. Worth mentioning as well, its base form having multi-scale and even into focus as well, is pretty busted. Because one thing, that I've theorized myself quite a bit is like Shedtail stuff, where like, you can pass a Shedtail to a Dragonite with multi-scale. Shedtail with multi-scale is broken for anyone who doesn't understand the interaction. Shedtail is a 50% sub, not a 25%. And with multi-scale, it essentially means the Dragonite has an entire HP bar, right? So something like Shedtail to a multi-scale, it also makes you immune to intimidate when you're behind the sub. You set up a Dragon Dance or whatever, and then you like Mega. So yeah, I think this mon with the right ability is going to be broken, but like I could certainly see it being like an A or a B tier at least to start.
Absolutely, and I think the upside too is like having I think it's like the same as Raichu Mega X, where you still have extreme speed in base to like clean up. So like if you want to go Hurricane, Extreme Speed, Draco Meteor, or Thunder if you're setting the rain, like you just have so many options. Like that 100 speed tier, like you can just kind of ignore that if a Pokemon's on low HP, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think one thing worth mentioning as well is Mega D-Knight is actually a stronger physical attacker than base form because of, well, I mean, technically it's not stronger, but you can run Adamant and then still hit the speed tiers you need that Jolly base form D-Knight can't. So, for example, being that it's 100 base speed, Adamant 252 at +1 will outspeed things like Calyrex Shadow, and then in turn it also outspeeds all of the Z Megas, right? Which, I'm sure we'll talk about later. Jolly base form D-Knight cannot do that. So, like, Jolly D-Knight, even if you click Dragon Dance once, will not outspeed those Pokemon, where Adamant will. And then you also have the benefit of like you're adamant, therefore you hit harder. And then so like the Adamant's like Mega D-Knight is faster and hits harder than Jolly base form D-Knight does.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's awesome.
It is worth mentioning that like that going up to that 100 speed stat is actually really, really important for a lot of formats. Okay,
that's really cool. I like that. That's awesome. I think A tier then. I'm feeling A tier on this one.
Look, it has 700 base stats. It's hard to make this Pokemon bad. And like, as much as people do clown on the typing, Dragon Flying in particular is really good. Like, when you think of the standard Fire, Water, Grass stuff, none of them can hit them, right? Rillaboom, it wants, Grass Move, Wood Hammer, U-Turn, resist everything. Incin, you resist the Blitz, and you're a Mega, so you can't be knocked off, right? And then Urshifu, you double resisted. So the standard Fire, Water, Grass stuff does not like Dragon Flying types.
Totally, and that's the same vein as like what Mega Salamence has and stuff like that. So I'm with you. I think the typing's great. And now moving on, just to keep this show on the road, we have Mega Meganium, and I think this Pokemon is either F tier or B tier depending on its ability. And that ability would be the potential triage.
So one thing actually worth mentioning as well, that I think someone like put in my comment section a couple weeks ago. Mega Meganium actually could be a really big benefiter of Swamp. Because like the thing is, it's like its stats actually aren't bad, right? Like when you look at it, like its bulk is really good. Its speed stats honestly not bad for like a balance piece, but its special attack stat at 143 is really nice. And basically someone like mentioned that like you could pair this thing up with something like a Greninja, and then allow Meganium to like move with a faster speed stat, and then just like nuke with a grass pledge, which I think is really interesting because the Swamp is also a grass type move. So like having that stat spread with with the 160 base power attack, that's gonna one shot a lot of like non-resist, and then also setting up stuff like the Swamp, I do think is worth mentioning. Unfortunately, I was gonna say it doesn't get Moonblast. I don't think it's Gleam. But even with that being said, I think if it gets Triage, like Draining Kiss, Giga Drain, it's maybe okay. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. The Grass Fairy type is not typically very good. The only Grass Fairy we have is Whimsicott, but Whimsicott is not good because of its typing. It is good because it has, I don't know, Prankster Tailwind and like Prankster Encore and Prankster Light Screen, and it's kind of carried by its kit more than its typing. Again, I don't think Grass Fairy is bad by any means, but yeah, I don't know. This is probably like, I wouldn't say it's ever going to be F tier. For me, it's probably somewhere between B to C. And again, it's a starter Pokemon that has never had anything, so like part of me does feel like they're actually going to give it something really good. But yeah, I'm happy to like probably put it in C for now and see where things go.
That's fair. I think something of note too, it does get Earth Power, because I was concerned about Grass Fairy gets so heavily walled by Steel and Poison types that at least it does have that coverage so it can deal damage. But with the rise of Steel and Poison becoming so like meta relevant to so many, like with Sneasler, we got Arcaludon, like we have past Pokemon like Zacian, stuff like that. Like Grass Fairy as an offensive piece seems to be getting, that seems to have a lot of adversity it's going to have to go through.
Yeah, and I think one thing worth mentioning as well, this is a Pokemon that actually could get grassy terrain. Now, the issue with grassy terrain is, like, it is just completely outclassed by Rillaboom. Like, there's no way around it. Like, Rillaboom is just the better grassy terrain mon, but Rillaboom won't always be legal. So, like, if it was to get grassy terrain and Rillaboom wasn't a legal Pokemon, I do think this could be, like, actually, like, really solid as, like, again, that grass type on a... like a fire water grass core.
Absolutely, I think that's
or even a fairy and a fantasy core as well. I think
totally. I think that's totally reasonable. For now, I think C tier is quality for it. Maybe we'll get something crazy for it that can bump it up, but I think C tier is kind of like where it feels that it settles.
Yeah, I agree. Again, bulk's good, special attack's good, speed's not bad, typing kind of arse, but again, it's a starter. I wouldn't be surprised if they just gave this thing a broken ability.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, moving on, we now have Mega Feraligatr, and I think this is another one that hinges on 2 tiers for me, depending on its ability, and that would be if it gets Dragon's Maw or not. And this is like Dragon Water typing, we already know, historically great typing. Kingdra, excellent. Dracovish, excellent. But the problem is this Pokemon doesn't have necessarily, like, what dragon moves does it have? It has Dragon Claw, that would be good with Dragon's Maw.
Outrage.
Liquidation does it get? Yes. It would be great if it got, what's the Vicious Rend?
It's Outrage. Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. I don't think Dragon's Maw actually changes this thing's usage at all. As cool as Dragon's Maw is, I don't think a strong dragon type is that amazing in a format where Salamence and, like, you know, Mega D-Knight are running around. I think it's like, if you look at its stats first, right, its attack stat is unbelievable, its bulk is really solid, but its speed stat is just lackluster. This to me does feel like it's a Pokemon that probably needs support to click a Dragon Dance, but I think Vicious Rend in particular is the move that potentially breaks this one. And again, obviously so far we know only Dracovish has Vicious Rend, but I do think if they ever were gonna give Vicious Rend to another Pokemon, I think Mega Gator in particular is the mon to do it. And again, Strongjaw is like, the issue is, like, Strongjaw is the move that everyone kind of looks at and says, like, ability that, you know, you look at Mega Gator and you're like, this thing has an enormous mouth, like, it should get Strongjaw, but it has nothing to you know, boost it, right? There's no dragon biting move as far as I'm aware. There's only one water biting move, and then it's like, are you really going to run Crunch? You know, you're going to run Ice Fang? Like, they're all... It's like, if they give it Strongjaw without Vicious Rend, this is just a bad Pokemon. But I think if they give it Vicious Rend with Strongjaw, all of a sudden you're talking about a legit, potentially S tier Pokemon, right? Like, it probably wouldn't fare well as the power level gets higher, just because its speed stat doesn't hit the numbers it needs to, like, for restricted formats at +1. But I mean, with its speed stat, you know, Jolly, like, Dragon Dance would outspeed basically everything, right? So, like, there's a chance, but I think it's like, for me, it's Vicious Rend, it's like A tier, not Vicious Rend. It's niche at best, I think.
That's fair. I think based off that, there's 2 paths they could go. They could go the Dragon's Maw, no Vicious Rend, or they could go the Strongjaw Vicious Rend angle, and there's opportunities for either one to be really good, but I think I'm with you. I think this would honestly potentially be a C tier again, depending on that plus side.
And look, I think one thing worth mentioning, I think a bunch of these Pokemon are going to get brand new abilities, and Mega Gator and Meganium in particular could be those, right? For example, you know, we spoke about Meganium maybe getting grassy terrain. You know, there's an ability out there called Hadron Engine, right? Which is grassy terrain and a free life orb. Yeah. I think if Meganium got Hadron, I don't know a word for it, but grassy terrain with a free life orb, all of a sudden that's a completely different Pokemon, right? And same goes for Gator. There's a world where Gator gets Drizzle and Swift Swim as its ability all in one, and then all of a sudden we're talking about a completely different Pokemon, right? But yeah, I think it probably does hinge on its ability, right? Again, it's like, when you look at the absolute top tier threats, I don't think Gator holds up unless its ability is just busted.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. And I feel like Water Dragon at least is a good neutral typing defensively, but as more fairies get added and as stronger dragons get added, like all the pseudo legendaries, it does suffer a lot more for sure.
And look, I just want to throw in a quick comment there as well, like talking about like the fairy types. I don't know why fairies resist dragon, but like, sorry, are immune to it, but please like change that to a resistant champions. Like it's, to me, it's so stupid, man. Tinkerbell just eats a Draco Meteor and takes 0. Like, nah.
Yeah. That's kind of like the whole bug fairy conversation too. Like, fairies should
it's
not
just like,
resist bug. There's no reason for it.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, I think you're correct, right? What they should do with the fairy type, in my opinion, is flip the bug interaction, make bug super effective into it, make bug resist it, and then just make dragon not immune, right?
Yeah.
I am completely fine with fairy resisting dragon. I do not think a little bug should be able to do, sorry, a little fairy should be able to eat something like a Draco Meteor. It makes 0 sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why they did it in Gen 6 because of how broken dragons were, but dragons aren't as broken as they used to be.
Yep. I think that's more than reasonable. Well, moving on, next we have Mega Skarmory, and this is one I made a video on this Pokemon, and I actually think it's pretty good. I don't think it's going to be, like, mind-breaking, but best of one. I actually, like, really think Skarmory's Mega Evolution is going to be awesome, and that's because of its base form's ability, Weak Armor. So Weak Armor is an ability where you get hit by a contact move, it lowers your defense, but it sharply raises your speed. And then if you add that onto Mega Evolving Skarmory, you have a 110 speed now, which is way higher than base Skarmory. I think base Skarmory's is 70, if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah, something really low.
Yeah, so getting 110, now you're doubling that, and that means you're pretty much outspeeding like most Pokemon, even in a restricted format. Double on 110, like that's a free Tailwind. And you have the devastating 140 physical attack with moves like Brave Bird, you have Iron Head, I believe. And so, like, most Skarmory...
Rock Slide will be on that set as well.
What'd you say?
Rock Slide.
A Rock Slide, ooh, I like that. I really like that for the fire types.
It would need it. It would have to run Rock Slide.
To go against, like, Charizard and stuff.
Yeah.
And I like this, too, because base Skarmory, it suffered from, like, Body Press, Iron Defense. Like, that's all it could do. Roost. Like, it was in singles, it's like a Defogger. So, like, this kind of gives it an actual offensive angle, which I think is excellent.
Yeah, I think, like, the thing with Skarm, right, is, again, it's probably going to be, like, ability-based. Obviously, you know, we see Tough Claws here. Like, something like a Tough Claws Brave Bird off, like, 140 attack is going to be kind of nutty. I personally don't think it gets Tough Claws, because I think if there is a Mega that does get it, or a Mega Flying type, it's going to be the one a few to the right. But I actually do think there is a chance this thing gets Good as Gold. And I think a Good as Gold Skarmory all of a sudden becomes very, very good. And that's kind of why I mentioned Rock Slide as well, because I think it would put Skarmory into a position where, like, if it had Good as Gold, it's a very, very good lead into something like Venusaur Charizard, because you could just Rock Slide it, you don't care about the Sleep Powder, the Poison, the Grass. It would probably start forcing Venusaurs as well to run things like Weather Ball. But I do think Mega Skarm, like, with something like Good as Gold, could be a very, very good Pokemon, because I believe it also gets some pretty good, what's it called? Like, some pretty good, like, supporting moves. Like, I'm pretty sure it gets Tailwind.
Yep.
I think it gets Swords Dance as well, right? So, like,
yes.
Again, like, and you also mentioned as well, having Weak Armor in base form, like, it makes Mega Skarm a Pokemon you don't want to fake out, because it's like, what if they just go like SD in base form, and then you just like, you fake out and give them like the Weak Armor, and then like all of a sudden it's like, okay, now Mega Skarm has +2 speed. Because I do think like all of a sudden that makes it kind of nutty. And again, like, you know, you kind of mentioned it, in its base form it has a ridiculous defense stat, right? It actually loses defense when it megas. So I think this is a cool mon. I don't know how it holds up in a format with every Mega, just because I do think the top tiers are a little ahead of it. But I certainly think, like, it's a B tier for me. Like, I think in the right format, this is crazy. Like, in a format where Raichu Y is good, Raichu Y, it's probably, like, not playable. But also at the same time, like, I think it has a really solid matchup into things like D-Knight. It has a pretty good matchup into Salamence as well. I just realized too, this thing, I think this is going to be Skarm's issue. It probably can't run Steel coverage, because it also probably it probably has to run Drill Run just to hit the Steel types, right? Like, you can't play into Mega Metagross without Drill Run.
I think that's a fair critique of it. And that will probably be the problem, is like, I think it's really to me a best of one demon. Like I feel like in open team sheets, when you know what kind of set Mega Skarmory is running, you can kind of plan around it, and you know not to set off the weak armor or anything like that. But in a closed team sheet, like a GC perchance, like Mega Skarmory might have that edge with those weird outlier coverage moves like Rock Slide, like Drill Run. Like it could be pretty cool.
Just worth mentioning as well, I just did a quick calc. Maybe you actually don't need Rock Slide, because a Tough Claws Brave Bird just straight one-taps a Charizard.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah, like you do need Tough Claws to do it, but yeah, that's an interesting calc for sure.
No, that's cool.
And that's Jolly too, that's not Adamant. So.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's pretty sweet. I guess we'll have to see what the ability is, because I think people might be able to make that work.
Yeah, again, I think it's very ability dependent, and it probably needs to be a format where not every Mega is available. Yeah,
that's fair. I think that's reasonable. Well, moving on, now we have Mega Chimecho, and while I think Mega Chimecho is like a cool Pokemon, like Psychic Steel, it's really sweet. I think, like we've been saying, there's just a better Psychic Steel Pokemon out there, being Mega Metagross. So obviously Mega Metagross is a physical attacker, and this is a special attacker with 135 special attack. And if it does get Levitate, that's pretty sweet, but I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I think it's cool. I just don't think I'd use this over something like Metagross.
So I think the thing with Metagross we have to keep in mind is it functions very differently. So I have you ever seen the Wolf Click tweet where he said something like literally like back when like, you know, Megas were still being revealed, I think maybe it was like pre-Oras, but he was like, if like they announced like Mega Chimecho, I'm gonna like take it to Worlds or something like that. He's like, I'm gonna make it work. And then people start like retweeting it, like, you know, what, 10, 11, 12 years later, however long it's been, saying like, hey, like, remember the time you said this? So I will say there's been two routes I've seen people theorize online, right? So like one, this one does have Levitate, and it gained the Steel type. So if it keeps Levitate as a Steel type, fantastic. That's straight up one niche it has over Mega, over Mega Metagross. It also has access to Boom Burst, and I have seen people saying like give it like a Steeliate, so like basically like one of these like 8 moves where it turns a normal type into another type and then gives it a like 1.2 times the boost. Being that it got the Steel type, I do think if it did get something like a Boom Burst Steeliate, and then all of a sudden your Boom Burst goes up by like how powerful would that make Boom Burst? That'd make it like 170 base power before like stab, right?
Oh yeah. That'd be huge.
Kind of nutty. Like that would be like make it rain on steroids, yeah? And another thing as well I think people have mentioned is putting this thing on Perish. I believe it is a Perish on mod.
Oh, is it? That's really cool.
Yeah, so, you know, look out for the Wolf Glick Mega Chimecho Perish. Because, like, again, like, I hate to, like, bring this back to Wolf so much. But, you know, like, speaking of Perish, right, like, we saw that regional he won a couple years back where, you know, one of the ways he would do it was, like, he would lead, like, his Palafin and his Flutter Mane, and people would just expect he's going for this, like, you know, this, like, really, like, defensive pivot play, and then he'd go, like, full offensive, quickly, like, take a turn 1 KO with, like, a Moonblast Wave Crash, and then he was like, okay, now I'm going to Perish you. And I think that's one of the cool things Mega Chimecho could do, where it's like, you know, maybe, you know, it's like, oh, is he going to Perish me? And then all of a sudden, you know, he picks up a turn 1 KO with, like, a Steeliate Boom Burst, and then he, you know, goes into his trapping mode, Perishes you, and then, like, cleans it up from there. So I think this mod has potential. As you said, it is definitely just worse Mega Metagross, but I could see it with that bulk and potentially Levitate and maybe, like, you know, make it rain on steroids. This thing could actually be half decent. You feel
maybe C tier, B tier then?
Yeah, I think it's better than everything in the C tier. It like. I think B. I kind of put it on the same spot as like Mega Skarm, I think. But again, I think I'm just like looking at this at like the Wolf Glick angle as like Wolf's gonna like pull up to the first GC with it, and then we're not gonna know who won that GC for like a week, and then Wolf's just gonna drop the tweet like, oh yeah, no, I actually like won. I won the May GC. So
maybe we could add another tier that says S tier with Wolf.
Yeah, maybe. it's the G, the G tier, the Glick tier. But look, I'm excited to see it at least. I think this mon has a cool niche. I do wish it lost speed. That's probably like the only thing. I wish they dropped it to like 45 speed. That way it could underspeed things like Ursaluna, but I mean, even then, a Steel type with Levitate, that does actually hard wall Ursaluna. So, I don't know, maybe that's its niche.
That could be pretty cool, and it would be able to reset Trick Room and function well enough within Trick Room. It'd be still faster than most of them, but...
Actually, shit, I just realized. Put it next to Ursaluna. Just Earthquake.
Oh, yeah. I remember I used to run a team with Bronzong next to Ursaluna, and that's like kind of the same style, but you had to use Body Press or Heavy Slam.
Yeah, actually, that could be kind of nutty. Does it actually, before we move on, does it get any good steel coverage? It's just like Flash Cannon.
I think it gets
right?
Flash
That's
Cannon.
it?
Yep, it gets Flash Cannon.
Yeah, it's literally just Flash Cannon. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe Steeliate Boom Burst, but I think if it loses Levitate, then all of a sudden, it's so hard, yeah. Like, Levitate's actually so good on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, it's like, there's other broken stuff. Like, again, like, you know, low power format, Steeliate Boom Burst next to like a Noivern, right? Like Telepathy Tailwind, and then you start Boom Bursting, but... Yeah,
I like that a lot. Honestly,
maybe I'm looking too much into this.
I'm even thinking I'm gonna really throw out a curveball. I'm thinking like Palkia next to Steeliate Boom Burst like would be sweet for going against fairy types.
Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy. And like this one does have good stats. Like its HP's kind of low, but like again, this is a Trick Room one, right? So like you just gotta max that HP out, and that makes it pretty respectable.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. I'm cool with the B tier here. We gave Skarmory B tier. I think Chimecho probably deserves B tier as well. All right, next up we have Mega Absol Z, and this one I think is very exciting, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think it's a beautiful upgrade to its other Mega form, because I think they really screwed over base form. They screwed over the base Mega Absol. I think it's going to be very ability dependent. I'm curious to see what they do with the Z Megas, because this one straight up, like, 151 speed, it's like, hey, Kali Shadow, like, I will always outspeed you, right? The issue is this mod is super fragile, 65, 60, 60. It will just, like, fall over at the sign of any half-decent priority. I would be really interested to see what, like, a Sucker Punch from a Chen Pow does to this thing. Like, does Pow just one-tap it with a Sucker? Potentially. It doesn't get Poltergeist either, does it?
It does not. I was checking that.
Yeah, see, like, that's the thing. Like, I think if it had, like, Poltergeist knockoff Sneak Protect in, like, a restricted format, it could be really good, because, like, the thing is, right, like, you outspeed Kali Shadow, and you can just straight up one-tap it with, like, any Ghost move, right? Especially in a non-Terra format. And then, like, Kali Shadow probably wants to be paired with Zama. Zama can't body press you, so, like, right there, it's unbelievable. Like, it's like the Ghost, like, dark typing it's crazy, right? Like, its only weakness is Fairy, which is, like, kind of insane. It has a lot of resistances as well, which is, like, really, really good. Look, I think for me, it's probably B tier. Its stats are absurd. Like, my only thing is it probably needs too much support, and it kind of just doesn't have the move pool to, like, really make it broken. Like, a stab knockoff from this thing is really, really good. Shadow Sneak is, like, great at picking off, like, low HP mons, but also at the same time, it's going to be, like, the fastest mon in the format, so it's like, does it really need Sneak? Does it get Dance? It gets Dance, right? Swords Dance.
Let's see. Yes, indeed it does.
Yeah. So, like, maybe there's a world where it is, like, just, like, knock off Swords Dance, Ghost Move Protect.
I don't think that's bad at all, and I would love to see this thing get Last Respects, because I could actually see Mega Absol Z.
Calm down.
Huh?
Calm down.
No, but if it did,
it gets Last Respects. It
becomes S tier.
Like, not even a question. It doesn't matter what its ability is.
Well, and I think
like,
Last Respects would be the best thing to add to this, because, like you're saying, it's so frail that it can get one-tapped by something easy in return for a priority move, but if you can get it off, like, that's an endgame sweeper, which I think would be phenomenal. We've already seen, like, Basca Legion kind of has this style with not the 154 attack, but with Swift Swim and Last Respects. Like, it's pretty crazy still. So it's not out of the question.
Honestly, I hope it does get Last Respects, just so it actually sees some play.
Yeah. There's plenty of normal types, I feel like, now that Last Respects you can play around a little bit. So, I mean, it's broken, but it's manageable.
So, interesting. This mon actually has a really good chance at living Sucker Punch as well. So, like, it's actually pretty easy to EV for it.
Okay.
Which is cool, because, like, I think one thing worth mentioning with a mon like Mega Absol, I think the beautiful thing about its speed stat is depending on the format, like, you really don't have to invest, right? Like, it's not hard to make this Pokemon, like, say, for example, right, we're talking about a Chien Pao metagame, right? It's not crazy to get this guy to 206 speed. Like, yeah, sure, you have to run Jolly, but, like, you know, it's like, what, we're talking 132 speed. I'm sure there's, like, some offensive calc you'd want to hit. But essentially, like, yeah, depending on how you wanted to play this, there's a lot of investment for bulk that you could, you know, throw in this one. So I'm pretty confident putting it in the B tier, just because its speed stat and attack stat are so high. It probably is ability dependent slash, like, last respects. Like, if it got last respects, I do think it automatically becomes A tier, if not S tier. Like, because again, you know, I'd love to see the calc on it, but, like, what does a last respect from this thing do to a Mega Metagross? Like, how much attack does it need to one-tap that?
Yeah.
Because I think if the answer is not much, like, you know, then all of a sudden you're talking about a crazy mon. Worth mentioning as well, actually, it does get foul play, I believe, right? So, like, I don't know if you're going to want to run foul play, but, like, foul play might be the, you know, the answer to something like a Mega Metagross, right? Because, you know, if your dark coverage is knockoff, and then it's like, well, obviously you don't want to knock off a Mega, but foul play, just having that high base power coming off, you know, a Metagross's attack stat could be pretty good, I think.
I think you're onto something with that foul play, because so many of these Megas get such outrageous attack boosts that actually could end up being something that, like, really trifles a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah, so it turns out last respects is kind of broken. Yeah, if one ally is fainted, you almost one-tap a, like, max HP Mecha Metagross. If two have fainted, you 100% KO it.
So you could run this thing next to, like, a Follow Me Mon setup and then just barrel.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be pretty cool.
Even, like, at +1, plus Sword of Ruin, you just, like, one-shot it. And there's nothing they can do about it.
Okay, so maybe they shouldn't give it last respects, but I'd still like to see it. Give Absol some
I think
love.
it would be fun.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Next, we have Mega Staraptor, and I know this is one you liked a lot. I think it's good. I think the type change is great. I think going to a fighting type so you can actually use, like, stab close combat is excellent. That's what I've always known Staraptor for in my Gen 4 runs. And I think any Pokemon that the base form has Intimidate inherently already gives it value, because you don't have to Mega it right away. You could switch it out. You could do some Intimidate cycling, some Fake Out cycling with it. Like, I think there is some positives here, so I'm definitely not against this. How are you feeling about it?
Again, look, the thing with Raptors, it's going to be format dependent, because, I mean, we've spoken about this previously, like a few weeks ago, but unfortunately, a flying type with Intimidate in a format where Salamence, like Mega Salamence in particular, is legal, is probably just never going to see play. But in saying that, you know, as I've mentioned a bunch, like, I think one of the beautiful things with Pokemon Champions is going to be the fact that they can give us a low power format where they say ban the top 10, top 15 Megas, and then all of a sudden Staraptor's like, wait, I don't have to compete with something like Mega Salamence. Like, wow, maybe I'm actually not a bad Pokemon. And I think it's kind of in the same tier as Skarmory because of that. But one thing I do want to say is that this one, again, it has Tailwind, so a base 110 speed, it's actually like a decent, you know, Tailwind setter. Intimidate in its base form, which is also really, really good. And I do think, based on its design purely, this could definitely be a Tough Claws mon, and Tough Claws Brave Bird plus Close Combat is kind of absurd, and there really isn't any type of memory that resists, like, outside of Mega Metagross in particular, and I guess by extension Mega Chimecho, I don't know of another type that resists the combination of Brave Bird and Close Combat.
I think they wouldn't even resist Brave Bird because the Steel type, right? It would just be neutral.
So you mean Close Combat?
Yeah, Close Combat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that is true. So yeah, maybe there isn't like a combination that I can think of. Maybe like Steel Ghost, but yeah, Aegislash. Aegislash Goldango, that's the answer. But who knows? Maybe they just give it Scrappy, and you know, we're having a different conversation. But yeah, look, I think it's interesting. For me, it's probably B tier, right? Where I don't think it competes in a format where the top dogs are there. Like, even like looking at the Raichus, it does scare me a bit, because it's like, Raichu Y is just gonna fold this thing. Like, it has Fake Out and then, you know, potential just discharge T-Bot, whatever. But I think it has a niche in the right format. Again, Intimidate's just such a good base ability.
Yeah, I think adding the fighting type to the flying type too, just in general, like being able to hit, I think you might have touched on it, just being able to hit rock and ice types for flying type Pokemon is huge. Like, that's such a big improvement.
It's very big.
All right, well, next up we have our second Z Mega, which is Garchomp Z, and I know this one is again a Pokemon where For some reason in this generation, they really wanted to harp on making every single Pokemon a mixed attacker, and they gave this one a huge bump to special attack with 141, and notably it loses the ground type, which I actually think is pretty awesome, just because you get rid of that 4 times weakness to ice, and you get back your resistances to water and grass, which is then great for going into the Fire, Water, Grass core like we've been saying for like Mega Salamence, Mega Dragonite. I think that adds levels to this bulk, and the bulk is already incredible. 108, 85, 85, that is actually kind of crazy to match with 151 speed and 141 special attack. Like, to me, I feel like this is like an easy Draco Meteor, and then you could potentially run like stab ground moves, but I don't think it's necessary, but it's still, the option's still there. Like, you can still get away with that after having your special attack drop 2 stages and then going to physical attack. I think that's something that's possible.
Yeah, and look, I think you touched on a lot of great things there, right? Its natural bulk is crazy. Like 108, 85, 85, beautiful, right? The speed stat, same as we just spoke about with Absol. I think the beautiful thing about it is, depending on the format, you don't even have to invest speed, or you don't have to invest much speed at all. Like, if you have a look at it, this thing already hits 171 speed, like, non-invested, right? No nature boost, nothing, right, at level 50. So, like, I'm just looking at it here. Like, say you're playing in a Tornadus format. This one only needs 68 EVs, and then you can play, like, Adamant or Monist, right? Like, it's kind of crazy, like, how little, like, investment these mons need into their speed stat because of how fast they are. I think the thing with Garchomp Z, and it's kind of the same, I think, for all these Z Megas, is it's probably just ability based. I think one cool thing, like, I could see is, like, one of the abilities that make, what are they called? There's, like, Rocky, like, Rocky Payload, I think, Bombardier gets it, where it's, like, it just gets stab added onto its rock type moves. Like, I think something like that could be really good, for Garchomp Z, where it's, like, maybe they give it a ground type equivalent of that, because I do think losing stab from someone like Earth Power is a little sad, because, like, Earth Power from, like, a Mega Garchomp Z would just, like, absolutely nuke Steel types if it had the ground typing as well. It would kind of just be like Lando on steroids, really. And this one, like, it does get decent coverage. Like, I'm looking here, right? Obviously, we spoke about Draco. It's got Earth Power, gets Fire Blast, Flamethrower. Also gets access to moves like Scorching Sand as well, which could be, like, really interesting for, like, fishing for burns. It's got some other stuff too. I'm just kind of looking here. There's nothing, like, super duper crazy, which is, I do think, kind of one of the issues I have with it. But another set as well that I do think is worth mentioning is that this one is still a Swords Dance one, right? Like, again, it has so much speed that it's like you could still run, like, Swords Dance, dragon move, whether that be Dragon Claw, Outrage, whatever, and then whatever coverage move you need, right? Like, again, do you need a way to hit steel types? It's okay, maybe you do still just run, like, something like Stomping Tantrum, Earthquake. I have been preaching this all, like, Gen 9. I don't know why base Garchomp doesn't have Headlong Rush. I actually spoke to Justin Tang about this. He's like, dude, you can't give it Headlong Rush. That'd be broken. And it's like, yeah, but we have so many other Pokemon with just broken moves. It's like, give Garchomp Headlong Rush. And again, this thing would, like, potentially just, like, lose, obviously losing the ground type sucks, right? But I do think something like Headlong Rush, like Dragon Claw, could be kind of stupid on this mod.
Yeah, if you're able to set up Swords Dance, I think the stab, it would be negligible as long as you did set up Swords Dance.
Yeah, and again, like, we're talking about so much speed that you could easily run this thing like Adamant 252, hit whatever speed stat you need, and then you just still have a really good, like, amount of bulk.
Yeah, I think with all that in mind, and especially since, like we're saying, it's still a base 700 stat Pokemon, I'm an A tier on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I certainly think it has the ability to be S. Like, again, it's, like, the thing that, like, you got to keep in mind, right, is what are the best Pokemon in the game? In my opinion, the 2 of the top 5 Megas, and we spoke about this in the video we're putting on my channel, you're talking about Mega Gengar, and you're talking about Mega Salamence. This mod straight up one-tapped both of them. Like, Gengar is not living the ground moves, Salamence is not living the dragon moves, right? Like, you are absolutely nuking them. I've also seen people theorize that this guy could also get dragons more. Again, I don't know if they're going to start handing out Dragon more, and what's it called? Dragon Energy. Because I saw a tweet about that, like, oh my god, give it, like, Dragons more with Dragon Energy. And it's like, we've seen how devastating Regidrago is. Imagine you give that to a Pokemon with 41 more special attack and like 71 more speed. I do think that would be cool. Like, I think if this did have like Dragon Energy Dragon more, like then it's like, okay, we're talking like automatic S tier broken. Like, please ban it every other format. But look, I think yeah, A tier seems pretty safe. I think it's just super flexible. It can be physical, it can be special, it can be mixed. It can be incredibly quick if needed. It can be, you know, bulky if needed because you can just invest so much into it. I think A tier is like pretty good.
Yeah, I even think Mega Garchomp Z is something that we could see a lot of in like a restricted format where you have your restricteds and you have your Mega. Like if you're doing like primals with like Kyogre, Groudon, and then having Mega Garchomp Z be that check for like Miraidons or Koraidons, because it'll be able to howitzer them as well and be faster than both of them. So I think it has a lot of upside even in higher formats.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's the beauty of these Z Megas is, like, because their speed stat is so good, they can just adapt to any format.
Yeah, they'll be able to, like, Calyrex is what, only 150, 149, something like that?
150, yeah, 150. They're 1 point faster, which again, it really feels like these Z Megas were middle finger to Cali in particular. It's like, oh, you're 150? Screw you. And I guess by extension as well, Mega Zam. They do outspeed Mega Zam by 1 point, which is like probably worth mentioning.
No, okay, that is pretty awesome. Yeah, that's pretty sweet, which would be good for Absol Z, absolutely. All right, for our third and final Mega Z, it's got a very similar speed tier, of course, to the other ones, but we have Mega Lucario Z. Now, this one, honestly, it's kind of like how I feel about the other two, where there's not necessarily a lot to say. Like, the bulk here is not as good as Garchomp's, but it's better than Absol Z's. And the 164 special attack, phenomenal. 151 speed, phenomenal. Like, you're still doing great. Steel Fighting's a good... We've seen that with, like, Zamazenta. Granted, Zamazenta's a lot bulkier, so it can eat a lot more hits, but Steel Fighting certainly has its edge, which I enjoy. And so, I think this Pokemon could be good. I don't know if I'm sold on it being, like, the best of the Z Megas, because I think Garchomp Z is, but...
I think you're wrong. I think this is... And again, maybe this is me with a little too much copium. I'm like 99% certain this thing is about to get Mega Launcher, and when it does, it is going to arguably be the best Mega in the game. I think this is... So, basically, right, you give this thing Mega Launcher, right, and just go like Aura Sphere for me. and then go Flash Cannon.
Yep.
Yeah, and then go Dark Pulse.
You got it.
Okay, and then you just have, so right there, you have 3 moves that are all 120 base power, coming off 164 special attack, and you literally have perfect coverage. You have ways to absolutely nuke everything. Of course, there's going to be some counterplay, right? You know, things like Choice Scarf Earthquake is probably going to fold this guy and whatnot, but this Mon, like, if it does get Mega Launcher, its Aura Sphere and Flash Cannon is, like, it's absurd. It's broken. Like, it's... Like, I can't, like, begin to explain it. I was doing some damage calcs. This is going to fold stuff. Like, Dark Pulse off this thing is just going to fold Mega Metagross, right? You know, Mega Salamence, you know, thankfully is going to be able to eat them. But, like, again, it doesn't want to take 2 Flash Cannons. Mega Gengar, you're going to get folded by a Dark Pulse. Like, Cali Shadow, you're going to get folded by a Dark Pulse. Funny enough, Zamazenta is probably going to get folded by an Aura Sphere. I have not done the calc on that, but you know, while we're talking, I might actually even do that. Because I am really curious as to how strong that would be. But yeah, no, I do think that this thing is going to be pretty broken, I think.
Are you as big on it if it doesn't get Mega Launcher then?
If it doesn't get Mega Launcher, I don't think it's S tier, but I still do think that coverage of Aura Sphere, Flash Cannon, Dark Balls is way too good. I think it at minimum S tier. That's A tier, sorry. Okay,
let's go ahead and let's do our first S tier then. I am convinced by your arguments. If it does get Mega Launcher, I'm convinced. I think this will be our first S tier Pokemon for the list.
All right, and by the way, I have the calc here. Yeah, Zamazenta just gets one shot by Aura Sphere even from Timid. So,
jeez.
Yeah, it's... The Cali S Zamazenta days are over. It's like Lucario is picking one and it's claiming it.
Oh, that's awesome, actually. Okay, I'm with you on S tier. I spoke too soon. I didn't think about Mega Launcher as an ability potential.
I will say, though, the second it loses Mega Launcher, its viability definitely drops. But, like, and again, like, the reason why a lot of people are speculating Mega Launcher is if you look at, like, any trailer they showcase this thing in, it only ever clicked moves that could be, like, boosted by Mega Launcher. So...
And they do often hint at stuff like that.
And I think one of the other things as well, and again, maybe it was just like a Z Mega thing, but they showed like the side-by-side comparison of like Mega Lucario versus Mega Lucario Z, and like Mega Lucario Z, it had the bigger Aura Sphere, right? That was the thing. It was like Lucario, like base, it looked small compared to the Z's, and I understand like it was a slightly different function, but I'm convinced it's getting Mega Launcher, and because it's Lucario, they want it to be broken, and I think Mega Launcher, Mega Lucario is just going to be like, I can't begin to like explain how broken I think this is going to be.
That's fair. We'll have to wait and see. I'm curious on that. That'd be awesome. We'll go ahead and moving on, keep the show on the road. We have Mega Froslass, and this is a Pokemon that I think, unfortunately, based off of like the crop of Megas we have from the past, the crop of Megas we got from like the future, like with Legends EA, I think this one's going to suffer unless it gets what they've already proposed, Snow Warning. I think if this is a Snow Setter, then we're talking about a really good Pokemon, because this 70 base defense then gets a 1.5 boost, so this bulk then ends up going out of this like through the roof. But I think unfortunately the 70 100 with only 120 speed, while it is a great speed tier, a lot of the Pokemon that it doesn't want to go against are all faster than it, and it can't really like. I feel like Qianpao probably one-shots this thing with Sucker Punch at only 70 defense would be my guess, and I feel like other Pokemon like. Now we have Lucario Mega Z, faster, has a stab, steel type move into it. We have, what is it, Fluttermane faster, Gengar faster. I just feel like there's a lot of resistance here, and if it doesn't have that utility as a Snow Setter, I just don't see this thing being used.
I am 100% with you. It's Snow or Bust for this mon, if I'm being completely honest with you. It's like, that is its only shot, but in saying that, it's a very fast Aurora Veil mon, so it's... I could see it being a really good second Mega on like a good team, where it's like, you know, you could go Veil, right? You have Blizzard. I'm sure it has Shadow Ball. I think it gets things like Destiny Bond. It probably gets Icy Wind. That's an assumption, but like I'm assuming it does, right? Like Icy Wind off that speed stats, probably pretty good. So I could definitely see a world where this thing is like Icy Wind, Blizzard, Aurora Veil, Protect, and you kind of run it similar to Alola Ninetales, where it's like, okay, I'm a Fairy type, I'm never clicking Moonblast. It's here for speed control, it's here for Veil, it's here for Blizzard. Because again, this is one of those mons, like you kind of touched on it there, where that bulk, while it's like nothing crazy, at level 50 it only hits 90, but in Snow, like it gains an extra 45 defense, putting it to like 135, I think, which is kind of crazy, right? Like 135 defense is a really, really good defensive number to hit. So yeah, like for me, it's probably like B tier if it gets Snow. If it doesn't get Snow, it's probably like C at best.
I'm fine with putting it into B as a you better be you better be setting Snow, and we can always make corrections in the future if it doesn't get it. Because
yeah,
for me,
I think that's the beauty of these, right? Is like we can talk about this later.
I think for me, no Snow, I almost feel like it's potentially D tier, but that's my personal gripes with it.
Also, just for your reference, Jolly Qianpao has a 62% chance to KO it in Snow. So, yeah.
Oh, so it still hits it hard.
Yeah, you can invest for it, but yeah, you would like you're not like investing to live an adamant Sucker Punch, for example.
And
well,
I think in that
can,
interaction, that's a really bad interaction too, because you're boosting Qianpao's defense on top of that, and we've already seen bulky Qianpao sets like go through the roof with Assault Vest, so that'd be a bad encounter.
In saying that though, I do think Mega Froslass typing wise pairs really, really well with Incineroar. So there is that going for it, right? They defensively pivot like really well for each other.
I do like what you were saying with having it work as like an Alolan Ninetales that's actually a good Pokemon instead of Alolan Ninetales, which is like, it's good, but its stats are so bad outside of it being able to set Snow and Aurora Veil that I feel like this Pokemon would have a lot more upside. Well, we got our next new Mega Evolution, and I want you to talk me off this ledge, because I think I'm just going to huck this all the way up into S tier, Mega Heatran. Mega Heatran... Wait, go for it, sorry.
No, I'll let you do your spiel first.
Oh, I was just going to say, looking at this upgrade stats, we got 91 HP, 106 defense, and 141 special defense. This is an absolute outcropping of defense. And then paired with a 175 special attack, 67 speed I think is the same, maybe a little slower than base Heatran. I forget if it went down. I think it went down.
Base.
Did it go down?
It did. Yep.
Okay. So it went down. which it honestly might help it in Trick Room modes, potentially. You still have the Ursalunas, which are slower than you, unfortunately, but going into something like, what is it, Torkoal, like, you can probably sponge Torkoal damage pretty well, unless it's running the Earth Power. But I think we've already seen Heatran, like, excel next to Rillaboom in past formats, so I only think Mega Heatran is an improvement upon what we've already seen, next to something like a Rillaboom. Then you're at least deviating off of Earthquake's power. You have checks for ground type, so that 4 times resist, you have ways to cover it pretty easily thanks to Rillaboom. So to me, this is an S tier Pokemon. I think as soon as this becomes available, we're gonna see a lot of it, but I'm curious what you think.
So for me, it's between S and A, strictly depending on its ability, I think. One thing I think worth mentioning as well is it did gain 30 points into its attack stat. Typically speaking, that is like not amazing for a special attacker, but it does mean the heavy slams of this thing absolutely slap. You know, so for things like Fluttermane, for example, if you're in a Fluttermane format again, where Fluttermane is probably going to live a Flash Cannon because its special bulk is so high, something like Heavy Slam is just a great option to have, right? Obviously, I don't know the calcs on it, but even things like Mega Gardevoir, maybe like a Carmine Mega Gardevoir can live something like a Flash Cannon where it's just never going to live the Heavy Slam, right? So I do think that's something worth mentioning. Another thing as well is obviously the theory that this guy might be getting Earth Eater. I would not be surprised if they gave it Earth Eater, because it's kind of like, if you like look at it, right, it looks like it's like melting into the ground, right? It's like it's become one with the ground. So if they give it like Earth Eater, it's like instant S tier. Like the only Pokemon that could deal with it then is gonna be like Mega Lucario Z, surprisingly enough, or even base form Mega Lucario as well with something like a close combat. But if it was to get Earth Eater, and like, I don't know, you pair it with like something that can deal with rain, it's like a Gastrodon plus this thing could be absolutely absurd. I think it, like, again, you said it, its stats are there, right? Its stats are crazy. Like Magma Storm as well is like kind of broken on it. You compare, again, like you look at its bulk, you pair this thing with something like Shed Tail as well. Like I do think, like, I know I harp on it about it a lot, but like I do think Shed Tail is going to be kind of nutty, just because I actually think Mega Sceptile in particular is going to have these like really, really weird niches as a second Mega, because like one, it has Lightning Rod, which could be like really good into the Raichu forms. Then it also too just has this incredibly fast Shed Tail, and it's like some games maybe you use it as your Mega, right? And again, like there are going to be other games where maybe you don't use it as a Mega, and even if this guy is weak to ground, then it's like, well, do you really want to eat a Leaf Storm from like a Mega Sceptile? Like, I could see a world where like Mega Sceptile Heatran is like a really good pairing, just because like one, you just either give the Heatran the Shed Tail, or two, you use it to counter the things that beat the Heatran, water types as well, ground types, stuff like that. So for me, I'm going to conservatively put it in the A tier, just because like, and again, obviously your tier list, if you want to keep it in S, keep it up there. I think there is certainly an argument it's better than everything in the A tier. I just think it needs a really good ability for me to be like, okay, it's S tier. Like, because I think if it does just fold to an Earthquake, it's hard for me to say it's on the same level as something like Mega Metagross, Mega Salamence. Even though, again, its matchup into Mega Metagross is really good, but we also know Mega Metagross also likes to run Stomping Tantrum for the mirror against other Mega Metagross. And again, if every Mega Metagross has, you know, Stomping Tantrum for the mirror, and if this thing can't survive a Stomping Tantrum, then it's like, well, it's probably not worth it, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I think just as I've done with past ones in this tier list, I'm gonna assume the best for it, and I'll move it down if it doesn't get it. So we're gonna assume Earth Eater on this one, and I'm gonna say it's S tier right now with Earth Eater. But I agree with you. I think it goes down significantly if it doesn't have that. All right, we have now Mega Darkrai. We don't really need to say a lot about this. I personally I think I'd automatically put it in A tier. I think the bulk is there. It flips the speed, so it's no longer, I think 120 speed is Darkrai, maybe 125, and it goes down to 85, which is...
Yeah, 125, I think.
And so then it just goes down to 85, which isn't great for Trick Room. It makes it a little harder to run in Tailwind, but it's not horrible. The special attack's phenomenal. Again, the bulk is great, but it's a mythical, so we're probably not going to see much of it. Personally, I think this is a Dark Void buff, actually, because it can just sit around and spam it more. But I think that's all I have to say about this one.
So, for me, Again, like, one, we're probably never going to use it because it's a mythical, but then also two, with the way Champions is kind of lining up and the way that, you know, it looks like you're going to be able to, like, just purchase Pokemon with VP, I definitely think there is a world where we one day see mythicals in VGC just because, like, technically they're accessible now, right? Like, if they just put it in Champions and I can purchase it with VP, then it's accessible. Anyone has the option to get it, which has always historically been the issue with, you know, these mythical Pokemon. But in saying that, I'm a big fan of this, and I do want to make a video about it at some point, but I think they need to unnerf a lot of these stupid nerfs they've done recently. And I understand why they nerfed Dark Void. It's because Smeagol was a menace in, like, VGC 2016. But now they've also made it so Smeagol can't learn Dark Void. So it's like, just put it back to, like, the 80% or whatever it was and call it a day. But yeah, I'm with you. It's probably A tier. It's like, again, we don't know what its ability is going to be, but it has ridiculous special attack. Its bulk is crazy, and like, it's I do wish this was also a Dark Ghost type. I think that was, like, the one miss with it. But yeah, it's probably really good.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think A tier, just to be conservative. It might be excellent, it might be less than we think, but I think that's okay. All right, we now have Mega Emboar, the only, what would this be, Unova starter to get a Mega Evolution, actually, which makes it a little bit unique in that regard. Really, again, this is another Pokemon where I don't necessarily have a lot to say about it. I'm not sure what ability they'd give this one. I know it has Reckless in base. Maybe it keeps Reckless. They have it as Supreme Overlord, but I'm not convinced on that, to be honest with you. I think the attack boost is great. I think the special defense boost is actually really cool. Like, the bulk here is awesome. Like, you don't see a lot of physical attackers that have that special defense upside. So in that regard, I really like this. But the 75 speed is still something less than to be desired. It's not really a speed tier I enjoy. I think you're too fast for Trick Room. I think you're too slow for, like, easy Tailwind. You have to invest quite a bit of speed, I think a fair amount at least, which then takes away from other aspects. But I do think the bulk is there. I think the typing's pretty cool. It's good offensive typing, not too great defensively, but that's kind of all I have to say about this one.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. There's not much to say. I think the speed hurts it more than it doesn't. I think if they'd taken, like, 20 points out of speed and, like, thrown that into defense, we're talking about a completely different Pokemon.
Totally.
Maybe there's going to be some low power format where, like, a Flame Charge set is good. Maybe there's, like, a Bulk Up Drain Punch set that's also good. But, like, I don't think it's going to be good. For me, this is probably the first D tier.
Ooh, I like that, honestly. Let's go ahead and make it the first D tier because...
I think it's just outclassed so heavily by Blaziken. Even though, like, Blaziken has nowhere near the same amount of bulk, they kind of do the same thing. Blaziken hits harder, it's faster. Yeah, I think that's enough for me.
And I think when we look at all the Pokemon that are above it, like, there's a lot of these that can hit this for super effective. Because, like, firefighting, it just isn't defensive. You can hit a lot of types, but you can't take a lot of hits. All right, now we have Mega Excadrill, and this is actually a really interesting one, and I am curious to hear what you think about Mega Excadrill.
I am of the belief this is 100% ability based. If it keeps Sand Rush, like, A tier. If it gets Sand Force, maybe still A tier. If it gets anything else, it would have to be broken. For me, like, I think I'm pretty okay putting it something like probably B tier for now, to be more conservative. As I said, if it keeps Sand Rush, I think it's A tier. I think with Sand Rush, like, this and T-Tar are going to be absolute freaking menaces in VGC, right? Because, again, you look at the Pokemon we have on the list right now. If you want to jump back to that tier list,
sir.
Yeah? You've got Lucario, in Sand, you beat it. Heatran, in Sand, you beat it. Raichu, in Sand, you beat it. D-Knight, you probably just beat it. Garchomp is probably, like, the first mon that you kind of struggle with, and that's only because it's like, if it megas, you can't beat it, and it can kind of KO you, but yeah, I think maybe it is just A tier. I don't know. It's like, I feel like, again, it's ability based. If it keeps either of its sand moves, sand abilities being Sand Force or Sand Rush, I think it's, like, probably A tier, maybe S tier. Like, honestly, Sand Rush might even just be S tier. Like, straight up, like, because I think T-Tar in the Charizard format is going to be really good. And because of that, I think, yeah, this one to me, it's probably A tier. Yeah, I think it all comes down to its ability for how good it's really going to be. But if it keeps Sand Rush broken,
I'm going to personally put it in A tier. I'm with you on that because I think the distinct upside that Excadrill has is the fact that you don't have to Mega Evolve it and you still get Sand Rush in base, and it still has a 130 base attack, so that's nothing to sneeze at. You can still
very, very
outspeed
high,
something like Mega Raichu Y, Mega Raichu X. Like if they don't have Levitate, you still outspeed them. You can still hit them. Like Heatran or Lucario, if they don't have some way to outspeed a double speed Excadrill, I still think base Excadrill wins those encounters, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think that's the beautiful thing about Excadrill, right, is typically speaking, when you look at it, right, you know, at least recently, it's like a, you know, a sash mon or something like that, right? So I think gaining that little bit of extra bulk is nice and will probably allow it to live hits it couldn't in the past, but yeah, I'm pretty confident to put it in A tier.
Okay, let's do that then. I'm cool with that as well. All right, next up we have Mega Scolipede, and honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and put this as a content mon, if only because I think its typing is dog water. I think Poison Bug has historically been one of the worst typings. I think the fact that they reduced its speed in half, even though it's a speed boost mon in base, I understand why they did it, but I think that hurts it tremendously, and I don't think that 149 defense does much for it. Personally, I think this is a content mon.
I kind of disagree. The speed definitely sucks. I don't think it's content. I think I would probably say C tier personally. And the reason for that is it gets Swords Dance, and in base it has obviously speed boost. So like you go for like SD, Fake Out, Protect, Pivot, and then Mega, and then it's like, even though its speed stat is pretty lackluster, at +2 speed, it's not that hard to actually outspeed anything. But I do think it's sorry. It probably does come down to whatever its ability is. Again, I don't think it's going to be very good, but its bulk's not bad. Its attack's solid. So, like, I can see a world where it is, like, maybe C tier or maybe okay. But, yeah, like, I am fine with a low ranking on this.
Let's go ahead and split the difference then. Let's just go D tier. I'm fine with D tier on this one.
I like that. I like that.
Okay. All right, Mega Scrafty up next. I think Mega Scrafty's a Pokemon that didn't really need a Mega Evolution, to be honest with you. I feel like base Scrafty, and we've even seen Scraggy do really well. But that being said, I do think the bulk, the attack, phenomenal. I think it can continue to do what it does as base Scrafty, basically. Like Fake Out, Close Combat, Knock Off. You're an Intimidate setter when you're in base. Like, I think this is a fine mon. I don't necessarily love it, but I'm not against it.
Look, it did get Parting Shot, which is obviously pretty good. It got increased to the bulk all around. It got a bit more damage and a little bit more speed. Again, I think, like, if Incineroar doesn't exist, this Pokemon's base form alone rises up drastically, right? It got Parting Shot, it has Fake Out, it has Intimidate. This is a really good Pokemon in, like, any non-Incin format. But, yeah, I think you're right. The question is, does it need its Mega? Like, probably not. It's probably C tier, simply because, like, you could slap the Mega Stone on this and still use it as its base form, right? Because, like, typically Scraggy anyway wanted, like, Assault Vest. But it's like, well, now you have Parting Shot, so you probably don't want Assault Vest. So then it's like, what's the other option? It's like, what, Goggles, Berry, or Mega? So, because of that, I think you still, like, you can run this as, like, a second Mega, and it's still completely fine. You can bring this without even needing to Mega it.
Yeah, I'm cool with C tier on this one. I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah. All right, Mega Eelektross. This is another one that I'm not in love with how they decided to split. Like, I know base Eelektross, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was already a mixed attacker, like pretty similar attack, special attack, and they just kind of elevated that. But I think the problem, they have it as Heatran Engine. I will be shocked if it gets Heatran Engine. I think if it loses Levitate, it's worse for it, to be honest, than base Eelektross. Obviously, the damage is there, but I don't see it standing out in a world where Mega Raichu X exists if they're both physical attackers. That's just where I'm at with it.
I've seen this meme a lot, and it actually makes a lot of sense. This is like the 4th or 5th pure electric Mega we got in ZA. I think it might be 4th, because we got the Raichus and Zeraora. So this is content tier. I think even if they give this thing electric terrain, it won't see play. Like, it is just that bad a Pokemon. It's a mixed attacker that doesn't have great moves. Its bulk is average. It's not great. Its speed stat is... It's too slow to outspeed anything fast. It is too fast to be a Trick Room mon. I think this Pokemon is awful. Like, I really feel bad for the fans, because this thing should have just not gained the 30 points into either of its offensive stat and then put that into speed and the other offensive stat. Like, if this was like 100 special attack with like 160, attack and 100 speed, maybe we're talking a bit nicer about it, but I think this is just a bad Pokemon.
I'm with you on that. This was in my bottom 5. This was an honorable mention in my bottom 5 worst.
Like my bottom 2, I think.
Yeah. All right, I'm cool with F content on this one. All right, next up we have Mega Chandelure. I think this one's actually pretty interesting. Maybe it gets outclassed by Mega Gengar just because of the speed tier with 90, but I don't think 90, like 90 you're starting to get to a realm where you can work with this. But that 175 special attack mixed with the 110 defense and special defense, even though you only have a base 60 HP, I still think this is workable. If it gets Shadow Tag, then you're kind of like a Gengar Light almost, which would be interesting. But to me, it's like, nah, it's just like, it's okay. It's okay.
I think, for me, Shandy as a Pokemon has always been a Tail Room mon, right? This is a mon where it can set Trick Room itself. Its speed stat is good enough where non-invested. It outspeeds everything in Tailwind. But then also against other hyper-offensive teams, you can put this thing, you know, as a Trick Room setter, set Trick Room, and then again, 175 special attack is kind of absurd. You know, you did mention Shadow Tag. For those who don't know, this mon was originally meant to get Shadow Tag, the base form at least, in Gen 5, but then they never released it because I think they probably realized it was too broken. I think for me, it's probably B tier. I think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be broken unless it does have Shadow Tag and the format kind of allows for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think there's just a lot of Pokemon that could hit this, like a lot of other Megas that could hit this pretty hard, and maybe even one tap it. I haven't done any damage calcs, but I'd be curious to see like how like a Mega Garchomp or like Mega Absol Z, like if they can just like clean this thing's clock, that might be a problem.
I think they can.
Yeah.
I haven't done the calcs, but like even a Dark Pulse, what's it called, Mega Lucario Z, probably just one taps it.
That makes sense. All right, well, we can move on then. I'm with you on B tier. We got Mega Golurk up next. Honestly, what are your thoughts on Mega Golurk?
Bulk is great, attack is fantastic, speed is a little too quick. I think if they drop this Pokemon to 45 speed, we're having a completely different story. Ground Ghost is still like a really, really good typing. I don't know, I think it needs a good ability to be good. Like, it does get high horsepower, it does get Earthquake, I believe it gets Poltergeist as well, so like, it has really, really strong stab options. I don't think it gets Swords Dance. It might get, it doesn't even get Bulk Up actually. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be like a C tier for this mon. Like, maybe if it gets some like really good ability, it could be like a really, really good Trick Room mon. No Guard Fisher is something I know people have joked about a bit. But yeah, I think, look, it's probably ability based. Like, I'm happy to put it in C tier because its stats aren't bad. Like, its bulk is good and its attack stats great. But it probably needs either a really good ability or like a low power format to really thrive. Like, I can see a world where if like a Saluna is not legal, this is like the premier ground Trick Room mon. But again, that's a lot of stuff going in its favor.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, the Ghost type having it be immune to Facade and whatnot, like against rival Ursaluna, it is pretty cool. But nothing to me stands out here that like this is something I really want to use, and I think it like takes advantage of all the other Mega Evolutions. Like, it does something that they can't do. Like, it seems pretty standard is where
I think it's pretty subpar.
Yeah. Next up, we have Mega Chesnaught, and to be honest with you guys, we've already actually done a video covering these, so we'll just do a brief overview. I think Mega Chesnaught, we already know it keeps bulletproof, which is, it's cool. Like, it's there's an upside where like you're immune to Sludge Bomb, which is cool, but it's unfortunate that Moonblast isn't looped in on that. But besides all that, defense is great. It has access to like Grassy Glide, Drain Punch, you can do Wide Guard, you can do Leech Seed, you can do Substitute. There's so many cool things you can do with it. I believe in our video we were pretty confident that it was going to be B tier. I think it could potentially be A tier, but like B tier, A tier range for me.
Yeah, look, it's super format dependent. I think its versatility is there, right? Wide Guard, Sub, Body Press, you know, offensive Belly Drum, Swords Dance, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot it can do. I've seen people even talk about this thing being like the perfect partner for Cali Ice in particular, right? It has Wide Guard for it. It functions really well in Trick Room. Has the Stab Body Press to deal with the Steel type. So I'm pretty confident to put this in B tier. It probably is really format dependent, but it also has just absurd stats.
Yep, I think, and that's exactly where we landed in our last video, so I'm cool with that. Moving on, we have Mega Delphox, and this to me, and I think we agree on this, was an A tier. I think the combination of Levitate as its confirmed ability, being a fire type, and having the offensive like presence of like Heat Wave and Expanding Force, like it can just like be so good, especially as a Calm Mind setter. because it's got pretty good bulk, especially on the special defense side. It's got great special attack, great speed. This to me is just a true blue A tier Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good fire type on fire, water, grass stuff that doesn't involve Incineroar. As you mentioned, Calm Mind, it also gets access to Nasty Plot. You're probably not running Expanding Force unless you're running like one of those cheese teams that we have discussed, where you know you're talking about something like Indeedee plus, like either like male Indeedee with Gravity, or you know Indeedee plus Wheezing, where it's like you go Follow Me, Plot, and then like Switch and then Expanding. So there's stuff like that, but yeah, I'm pretty happy to put it in the A tier. Probably does need Intimidate support, but outside of that, I think the mon is its stats are just too insane, and its typing offensively is very good.
Thank you for the reminder on Levitate. I was just riffing there and forgot about Expanding Force, so I appreciate that. Moving on, we have Mega Greninja, and I think we were both on the same page here again, that this was a C tier Pokemon.
Yeah.
And if only because, like, the speed's there, the offense is kind of there. I feel like the hybrid attacker, the mixed attacker stuff hurts this Pokemon again. They were really hell-bent on mixed attacking in this generation. I think it's just not bulky enough. I think there's a lot of Pokemon that can potentially be faster. I think the Protean as a ability is cool, but it doesn't really take it to that next level like the other two have. So that's how I'm at.
Yeah. I think if it had unnerfed Protean, then it's maybe a bit better. But I think its issue is, like, you don't want to, like, plot or dance and then be stuck as either a normal type or a dark type. You want to be able to click, like, a Dark Pulse and then a Water Shuriken, but then you also want to be able to switch it up and click an Ice Beam for things like Salamence, right? So it's like, I think if it had unnerfed Protean, it's probably B tier, but as it stands, I think C tier.
I am cool with that. I think I'm all in on that one. C tier it is. All right, next up we have Mega Pyroar, and I'm going to go ahead and just say Content Mod. I feel like this is like vanilla white bread if it made a Pokemon. 126 speed is great, but not when you're pairing it with this mediocre offenses and like decent bulk. I'll give it that, but I'm just not impressed by this Pokemon. 129 special attack.
Sorry, it was so close to greatness. They gave it 20 points in each of its stats. If those 20 points in attack were just split between the special attack and the speed, this Pokemon would outspeed Fluttermane. And then all of a sudden it has a niche as a normal fire type that's immune to Shadow Ball and resists the Moonblast. But I'm with you. It's bad. Yeah. Like, it's F tier. I don't think it does anything.
Yeah, I don't see that. Even if it's a drought setter, I don't see this even being worthwhile when Charizard Wise exists.
Charizard's far better.
All right, Mega Floette up next. This actually is a really interesting one. I am very curious. Where would you put this one?
There's a legitimate argument that this is the premier fairy type in any non-Fluttermane format. Its signature move is Broken, and it actually does outspeed Mega Gardevoir, I believe, by 2 points. So, I don't know. For me, I think if it's legal, it's straight up A tier, and I think it probably will be legal because, as far as I'm aware, if you have Legends EA, you can get this mon day one. So, yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be the fairy guy. Like, this is number one. Like, if you're not running Mega Gardevoir and you want a fairy type, I think Floette is the fairy type. I think this is an easy A tier.
I think that's fair. I mean, that special defense and special attack are ridiculous, and that defense really isn't bad. 87 physical defense on this is nice.
And, you know, we talk a lot about Pokemon needing an ability to be good. As long as it doesn't have slow start, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, its stats are really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I'm with that 100%. This is just a quick side question. Do you know if they classify this as a mythical Pokemon, or is it just a variant of Floette?
I think it's just a Ursaluna, man. I think it's a Blood Moon Ursaluna.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I think it's 100% going to be legal.
Its base stats are 551, so like maybe it is a mythical. I might quickly Google it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think overall then, if it's legal, I think it's great. I think it'll be phenomenal.
According to Google, Eternal Floette is not classified as a mythical Pokemon. So
all right, there's your answer.
Oh, actually, apparently it's a special Pokemon, whatever that means. But,
you know, Ursaluna Blood Moon can be considered a special Pokemon too. Who knows? We'll have to see.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, we now have Mega Meowstic, which is one of the most unique new Mega Evolutions because it has two different, and I know Pyroar has kind of the same issue, or the same style, but both of Pyroar's genders, I think, have the same abilities in base. But Mega Meowstic actually has two different gender variants of Meowstic, which both have different actual abilities. So that, I think that actually changes this up quite a bit. And the reason why I say that is because I believe it's the female that has the ability competitive.
If you're not playing the female one, you're throwing.
Yeah.
That's literally my opinion. I don't know why you would ever run this thing as a Mega, but want Prankster in your base form.
Yep.
Like, if you're not playing female Meowstic, I think you're throwing. But competitive on a Mon with these stats, it's very quick. It has very good special attack. And it has great coverage. Like, you have a look, this Mon gets things like Earth Power, it gets Energy Ball, right? It's got Expanding Force, like Moonblast. It has insane coverage moves, like insane.
Yeah, that's
so. I actually think this Mon, low key, kind of nice with it. Like,
I like
especially like. It's probably going to be like a second Mega, but like if you're like really weak in, like say you're running a Mega that's really Insyn weak, for example, I think this is a great second Mon to put with it.
I think that's a good astute analysis, and I think again this is another Pokemon because of those gender differences. I wonder if you could get away with like best of one shenanigans where somebody doesn't know the gender difference and they think, oh yeah, this is probably the Meowstic F Mega, and then you just have support male Meowstic out there with Prankster, because that has seen some use too.
I am certainly sure that you will find a format where this thing is like, you know, you can run the male one. Also as well, maybe worth noting here, yeah, even +2 modest Meowstic has a chance to one-shot a Assault Vest Incineroar. So that's kind of cool. Not a great one, but yeah, you have a chance.
Hey, that's worth something. That is worth something right there. So to me, this is probably B tier. I would want to put this in B tier.
Yeah, I think it's B tier.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. All right, we got our next dumpster fire of a Pokemon, Mega Malamar. Do you have anything positive to say about this?
Either this thing gets the most broken ability of all time, or it is the instantly F tier, the worst Mega in the game.
I feel like
it's.
Even with Contrary and Base, you have to set up so much Contrary. If it loses that when it Mega Evolves, you're just still getting one shot by U-turn.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
Not a good Pokemon. F
tier. F tier, I'm with it.
Like, I saw someone saying, like, what if it says, like, Trick Room and Gravity upon Mega, and it's like, maybe. Like, maybe. If it does Trick Room and Gravity, like, maybe.
What if it had an ability that just one-shot my opponent's Pokemon? Then it's pretty cool.
B tier.
Yeah. All right, Mega Barbaracle. Honestly, I'm gonna let you take this one away. Do you have any big thoughts?
I am higher on this than anyone else I've ever seen. A lot of people I see discuss this automatically say this thing is garbage, throw it in the F tier. I actually do think something like Close Combat plus like Rock Move on this is actually not bad. It probably does need to click Shell Smash, which means it needs like support. Like it really, really needs something to allow it to set up. But I actually think it's probably only a C tier Mon, but I think it's kind of cool. Like it has some stats. Its bulk's not bad. Its speed stat like with Shell Smash is okay, and a stab at close combat with like 140 attack is never a bad thing.
I think that's fair, and my positives on this at the very least are I think Megas that can change their typing, especially something from like water to rock. There's actually some good defensive pivots that can be made there, which is pretty cool. And like you have stab water moves when you're in base, which maybe could play. I do like it. I do think it's cool. All right. Next up, we have Mega Dragalge. Honestly, I know this thing gets a lot bulkier, doesn't it? Yeah, 163 special defense with 105 defense and 65 HP. I think it's fine. I'm not like necessarily impressed by it. Base Dragalge is pretty cool. I don't think it's ever had any relevant usage though. Like adaptability is it's a good ability. If it gets Regenerator, I guess. This seems more like a defensive Mega rather than an offensive Mega, but I say that still with a 132 special attack.
For me, this always just comes back to opportunity cost, and it's like this again. The defensive stats are great, but then its HP sucks. Speed stats great for Trick Room. Its offense just isn't doing enough, even if it keeps adaptability. Like to me, this is probably like a D tier at best. It's like, why would I run this over like any other Mega that thrives in Trick Room? Like, you know, there's one that we're going to talk about in a couple from here that I'm like well, I would just run that over this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think that's more than acceptable, and there's plenty of other Dragon Megas that we have that I probably would rather use. All right, next up we have Mega Hawlucha. This is the same typing as Mega Staraptor, but I personally think it's going to be worse, if only because I think that Hawlucha in base form its only usage that you really ever saw was Unburden. And obviously as a Mega, you lose that Unburden ability because you have to have an item that you cannot lose, so Unburden never gets to proc. So if you're running this, you're pretty much saying I'm either Megaing Hawlucha or I'm not using it at all on my team, and I think that adds a layer that you don't really want to deal with personally.
Yeah, I'm with you, right? I think in terms of stats, you look at them, it's actually quite similar to Staraptor. Like, it's a little bit faster, its attack is a little less, but it doesn't have Intimidate, and it has worse bulk. So, like, I do think it's worse than Staraptor. Like, I don't think you can rate it above it. I do think it's probably just ability dependent. Like, if it got something really good, I think it's going to be great, but I think it's C tier. Yeah, it's probably niche, right? It has a solid speed stat, its bulk is good. Obviously, Flying Press is always a interesting move to, you know, consider, right? Because it is just nothing else has it. But again, I think you're correct. Like, losing access to like Acrobatics, for example, really hurts it because it now means this guy has to run Brave Bird as its flying coverage. So yeah, I think maybe as a bulk up mon it's okay, but I think yeah, CT is probably a good home for it.
I agree with you. I think that's correct. All right, we have Mega Zygarde now. And honestly, this one, I've seen a lot of conjecture on it. Obviously, it has a ridiculous special attack stat. It has a ridiculous signature move. I think it's a dragon move that can hit fairies.
Nihil Light or whatever it's called.
Yep. And the caveat, obviously, that I want to put here is the big difference is going to be whether you can Mega Evolve it from the base form or if it has to be at perfect Zygarde form, which means it has to have less than 50% health, I believe. And if it has to have that, you're really setting yourself up for failure because somebody could just double you with 2 ice moves or maybe even 1 ice move just to clean your clock right out the gate, which I think is a big issue. So for me, this is either an S or an A tier Pokemon just because it takes so much to set up.
I actually would go way further and say it's like B tier at best.
Ooh.
My thing is, right, so Zygarde and Terapagos are 2 Pokemon in particular I really hope they make slight changes to. I think 50% form and Terapagos in its like normal form, like pre-Terra, I actually think they need to be reconsidered to be just like normal legendaries because I don't think like 50% Zygarde should ever be considered a restricted legend. I would love them to just kind of change that interaction and just say, hey, complete Zygarde is just, it's complete the second you send it out. And I think, you know, base 50 is just like considered the same thing as like a Landorus, right? At least that's my opinion because I don't think the Pokemon is good. In terms of how good this is, like, I'm not gonna lie, I've done the calcs. You don't even 2-shot Xerneas with Nihil Light.
Oh, really?
So yeah, no, you don't. And that's like that. Like, you could Nihil Light, you're not going to KO it, and that's not even factoring in the fact that they could just click Geomancy in between and then live 2 more Nihil Lights after the Geomancy. I don't think this mon's that good. I think at best it's B tier.
All right, you know what?
Yeah.
You've convinced me. Let's go ahead and drop her down to B.
And it's not only that, it's like Zamazenta like kind of hard walls this thing. Like, yeah, you could Earth Power the Zama and like one tap it, but then you've also just let the Calyrax like double Astral Barrage and KO you, and then it's like, again, you've got things like Miraidon. Yeah, it's gonna get Draco one tapped. Koraidon. I mean, Koraidon's probably fine because it's not gonna click a Dragon move, but Cali Ice is going to one-tap you, right? Like, you start going down the list of the top Megas. This isn't a top 5, sorry, restricted. It's not a top 5 restricted. It's probably bottom of top 10 in terms of restricted Pokemon, I think.
Okay, I think that's fair. Let's go ahead and rock with it in B tier then.
Yeah.
All right, next
also,
up...
as a ground type, it's... Sorry, I was going to say, it's also outclassed by Groudon as well. But at least, sorry, Primal Groudon. Yeah,
that's fair. Primal Groudon probably blows this out of the water. All right, next up we have Mega Crabominable. And honestly, I've seen a lot of people say that they're really excited about this one, but I don't see it personally because if we're looking at its speed stat, like, it's obviously a Trick Room on at 33, but that means it's still faster than Hatterene, it's still faster than Torkoal, still faster than, Mega Camerupt, and I think those are all going to be way bigger threats than people realize.
So, I want to say one thing about this, right? There has been this conversation of IVs being removed. This is one of the biggest winners of IVs being removed because 0 speed Crab with a Brave Nature at -1 speed does not underspeed Torkoal. But if you remove IVs and make everything perfect, it does. And it has this beautiful move called Hammer Arm, which is a stab move that lowers its speed by 1 stage. Not Hammer Arm, sorry, is it Ice Hammer I'm thinking of?
Yes.
Yeah, Ice Hammer. So with Ice Hammer, it would allow you to underspeed both Hat and Torkoal at -1, which is something you cannot do right now with that speed stat. Which is very interesting. Now, again, I think it's really going to be format dependent. I'd probably say it's B tier, but I do think it's copping a bit too much hate. I actually think it's half decent. I think offensively speaking, at least, it's a very strong Trick Room mon that will probably get packed up very quickly, but I could also see it trading like 2 KOs like each time.
That's fair. I think I'll ride with you on B tier. I was going to probably go C tier on it just because it is still a great speed.
I agree. Drop it down. I look at everything else in the B tier. I'm like, it's not Raichu, it's not Starmie, it's not Absol. Yeah, no, it's
I think the positives with Crabominable is it's slower than Ursaluna, both forms, and it's slower than Porygon 2, I believe. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn there.
It is slower than.
Yeah, and it can hit both for super effective, which is excellent. So it's great at hitting common Trick Room cores that we're seeing right now. I just don't know how it's going to look in the grand scheme when a meta develops, if an ice fighting type can really hang with that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Offensively speaking, I think it's very good, but that's kind of it. Like, it's going to get folded up very, very quickly.
All right, Mega Golisopod. Now, this is one you and I are both big on, I believe. I personally...
Oh, yeah, I love this mod.
Yeah, I want to put it A tier. To be honest with you, I want to throw it in A tier. I think that the type change from water to steel, having stab water coverage, and then becoming such a... Like, because this thing got such a crazy buff. Let's see the defense, or yeah. Like 175
it's
defense,
insane.
150 attack, and 40 speed. I know it's faster than the 2 Pokemon we talked about, but as a steel bug type, it doesn't care about Hatterene anymore, except if there's Mystical Fire, then it cares. But it definitely still cares about Torkoal. But the nice thing is you have that stab water move if you don't Mega Evolve, and you're still faster, I believe, than Torkoal outside of Trick Room, so you still have a chance to hit it. That's my personal feelings on it.
Yeah, I think the way I look at this, right, is it's a Trick Room mon with insane stats, right? Like, again, like, its HP stat is not crazy. Its other defensive stats are great, but because its speed is so low, this is a Pokemon where naturally you're just going to max its HP, right? Like, you look at this Pokemon, you're always putting 252 into the HP stat, right? So, but then because it's so slow, it's like, well, you know, your other defenses are so great. It's like maybe you need a little defense for like certain calcs, but this is a mon where, again, you're kind of just dumping it all into its attack stat. It gets some like decent moves as well. Do you know if it gets Heavy Slam?
It might.
It doesn't get Heavy Slam. It doesn't get Heavy Slam.
Just gets Iron
Like,
Head.
I know it get like. It does get some things like it gets Last Respect, right? I know it gets things like Bulk Up. It has a lot of really good coverage. Again, being that it's a water type in base, it does get things like Liquidation and Aqua Jet as well. I'm kind of torn between A and B tier. I think with a decent ability, it's probably A tier. With a bad ability, it's probably B tier. But I'm happy with somewhere in between those two.
Okay, let's go ahead and put it at the top of B tier. Let's just say it's the top of B. I haven't been actually listing these, but I'm just gonna throw it up there.
Yeah, its typing is unreal. I've even seen some people say give it Drizzle, and it's like, if it gets Drizzle, this is a great one. Because it essentially then has 3 stabs, right? Because then you run a water type move, and then, you know, like, you're technically getting stabbed because of the 50% boost. But then also, like, getting rid of your one weakness, which is fire. Like, that's the other thing. Bug Steel has one weakness. It's fire types. So,
that's what I was going to say. Like, Bug, this is the only type combination where Bug is actually elite. Like, having Bug Steel is so good. And it's like, to me, this is just a better version of Scizor. And the fact that you get First Impression, and you could cycle that in and out, and it's a Pokemon with 150 attack, like, that's so easy to switch in and out and just spam that.
I agree.
All right, top of B tier. Let's do it. The next one... Oh, what?
This is my goat here.
Oh, yeah, this is your goat. Hey, you take it away then. The Mega Drampa, this is your show.
Mega Drampa, all right. If any Mega's getting Drizzle, give it to this guy right here, right? And then while you're at it, also give it a Electro Shot, please. Like, look at it. It's literally a Thundercloud. It's literally a Thundercloud. Give it Electro Shot Drizzle. I know that sounds crazy. Please, and thank you. Just give it that. But with that aside, its bulk is crazy, right? Solid HP, really good defenses. Special attack is very, very good. Of course, we do know it gets Berserk in base form, which means, you know, if it does get, you know, say swaps in on an attack, gets dropped to half, it gets that +1 special attack, which on a 160 base attack is broken. Speed stat is very good. The only 2 mons that really threaten it that are slower would be things like Hat and Mega Crab, which Again, Mega Crab might be literally unplayable, and if that's the case, this mon would only have to watch out for Hat. Has a very, very good matchup into Torkoal, even though Torkoal is slower. It doesn't really care with that special bulk and the Dragon typing. It kind of resists it. I do think it is probably going to be ability dependent, but I also do think this is going to be one of the premier, Trick Room mons, and I'm personally super excited for it. I think it's designed sick. I think it's probably B tier, but with a good ability, I could see it jump up to A.
Let's go ahead and throw it on B tier.
Yeah, I will say, I don't think inherently any Trick Room mon is ever going to be S tier unless you're like Ursaluna, but then the thing with like an Ursaluna is it's like, even though it is a Trick Room mon, it also functions in Tailwind. This mon is too slow to ever function in Tailwind, so like it's hard for me to put it any higher than that. But if Trick Room is broken, I do think Mega Drampa could be one of the top Trick Room mons.
I like that. I think you nailed it on the head. I don't really have much more to say on it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I love this mon though. I hope it's good. I pray. It's such a sick mon, man.
Dude, the design is out of this world.
Yeah, I love it. Give it Electro Shock Drizzle, please.
Yep.
With Draco, because I think it also gets Hurricane as well. Like, not to hype my boy up too much, but he also gets Hurricane, so I think Drizzle makes a lot of sense.
Well, next up, we have Mega Magearna, and I'm going to go ahead and just go boop. And then go
I don't think we have to talk about this. We'll probably never play it. If it's legal, it's broken. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It is the best typing in the game. Its stats are just absurd. Soul Heart is, like, broken in base form. If it's legal, it's the best Pokemon in the game. I don't think we have to talk about it. It's probably the only fairy type better than Fluttermane.
Yep. And even if it doesn't keep Soul Heart when it Mega Evolves, you just let it sit there until it gets up a couple, and now you're doubling a 170 special attack for free. Not fun.
The other thing too is like it's like it also got a speed buff and it has shift gear, so it's like you could actually run this thing as a physical attacker with shift gear. Like unironically, like it has 125 attack. Like you could run shift gear physical mag, man. Like, does it get heavy slam?
Oh, it might. Let's see.
It gets heavy slam. It gets heavy slam. It gets play rough, which is probably going to get a buff. Like, you can literally play this thing physical if you wanted. Or you just run shift gear, so you outspeed. Like, it's broken. It's S tier. Like,
yeah, S tier, easy. It might be the best Mega in the entire game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, undoubtedly.
Yep. All right, Zeraora next up. This one is honestly kind of on the same tier of, like, what the Z Megas were doing. Like, it has 153, so it's 2 points faster, actually, which is important. But this is another Mega Evolution. Probably not going to see it. Just want to touch on it briefly. It's another Pokemon that they're like, hey, let's make it a mixed attacker. I think it already was, but this has a lot of cool options. I mean, you got Power Up Punch if you want to. Oh, go for it.
It has a super wide move pool. That's the thing. It gets everything. It gets Bulk Up, it gets Command, it gets Volt Switch, Close Combat, Discharge, Fake Out. Like, I do think this is a mon. Also gets Knockoff as well, worth mentioning for Cali if it's ever legal at the same time. This is a mon that should have been a fighting type. I can't believe it's not electric fighting, but I mean, it is what it is. It also gets things like Grass Knot as well, I think, for the ground types, which is worth mentioning. Again, I don't think it's ever going to be legal. If it is, it's probably A tier. It outspeeds the entire format. It has ridiculous coverage. We haven't even spoken about Plasma Fist, by the way, which is its like signature move, which is also like really, really good as well, I think. So yeah. Probably pretty good. I would say it's A tier if ever legal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is like the premier physical electric type attacker because of Plasma Fists too. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Mega Phalanx. I think personally, I would probably throw this in C tier. I don't think it's like that stupendous. Ooh, you got a different opinion than me?
No, I'm with you. I 100% think that's where it goes. Okay. I will say that, what's its signature move? No Retreat, right?
It's No Retreat, yeah.
Yeah, and it has Defiant in base, which is definitely worth mentioning as well. I will say they gave this mon the exact stats it needed. Adamant 252 will outspeed everything after a No Retreat. And then I actually hope it keeps like I hope it either gets Inner Focus or it just keeps like Defiant, so it can't be intimidated. But I think it's a niche. It's probably never going to be good, but this is a mon where I'm certain you can use it and it will be okay in some battles. Yeah. Because again, while its HP is pretty lackluster, its attack and its speed hit numbers that are just great. Like 135, 100 when you're like, essentially clicking a Dragon Dance offensively, it's just good. It's good. I don't know what you run as the other coverage move. Yeah, it's probably Knock. You don't have a way to hit fairies, but like I don't know. Maybe is it like poison? I mean,
it gets Iron Head.
Poison and
it gets Iron Head and Poison Jab.
Maybe it is Iron Head then, because you need a way to hit Ghost and you need a way to hit fairies, and you probably want to run Protect, but I think it's C tier. I think you could use it and you'll find success, but do not expect it to be good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think No Retreat is the one thing that saves this Pokemon because it's such a good signature move, and Phalanx was never like astounding prior, but it was good in like the Dynamax format. If you could get No Retreat off and then you could Dynamax, you were going to start barreling out of control. But again, that was still a niche team.
No, I'm with you there.
Sweet. All right, we have our, my opinion, next dumpster fire. I think it suffers a lot of the same problems as Victreebell did, where this is a Pokemon that has Chlorophyll and Base, and we've seen it do really well as a Chlorophyll mon. The Grass Fire typing's really cool, but again, they just decided to boost its special attack and physical attack up to be the same, and they have it's not good stats otherwise. 65, 85, 85. That's fine bulk. The HP stat's a little low. The bulk is okay. And then the speed 75 is, again, it's hard to work with that if you're losing Chlorophyll. So I just don't see this being a valuable Mega Evolution. I don't see where you'd even want to use this at. That's where I'm at.
This Pokemon needs both Drought and Chlorophyll in the same ability to have any form of use. Like, I think my issue with it, right, is it has this really cool ability, signature move in Spicy Extract. Like, but the thing is, it's like, you want to pair that with something like Dragapult, right? Or like you want to pair it with like an Unburdened Pokemon, with, you know, Mirror Herb or something like that, where, you know, you're going to drop something's defense by 2, but you're going to give one of your allies +2 attack. Yeah, I don't think it's good. This is arguably the worst Mega there is. Like, it would need Drought and Chlorophyll in the same ability just to do anything.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think I'm F tier. I think this is content.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with you on that.
Next up, we have Mega Glamora, and unfortunately, this is one of my favorite new Pokemon. We saw Base Glamora absolutely excel, either as a Meteor Beam spammer, using Mortal Spin to poison the opponents and like chip damage down when you're doing like Dondozo teams. But the problem with this is Glamora is so heavily item dependent between Power Herb, between Focus Sash, that I just don't see. I don't think the changes that Glamora has with the Mega Evolution is good enough. Not to mention, I think they added 30 to its physical attack, so that doesn't help it at all. So to me, the 101 speed tier is good, the 150 special attack is good, but man, I just think base Glamora is better.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the only way Mega Glamora is better than base Glamora is if Meteor Beam and like Sand interaction changes to like how Electroshock is in Rain. Because the 101 speed is fantastic, right? Outspeeding things like Charizard is great, but like you need some way to make it more valuable than what we were saying, right? With like Meteor Beam. Like, why would I not just run a Power Herb Meteor Beam set instead of this? Like, it's like, either this thing gets the most broken ability of all time, where it's like Meteor Beam just triggers on turn 1, or they buff Meteor Beam or something, but like, until then, it's probably just a D tier. It still gets folded by ground type attacks. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably just outclassed by its base form.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I think it's a bummer. They do have it as Levitate, which would be crazy. I don't think it gets that. That would be cool. Now this next one's Mega Tatsugiri. This is a very interesting one. I think that it really depends on how the interaction, like the Mega Evolution's ability is going to be very curious of me to see, like if it's going to get some kind of combo of like all of the Tatsu forms or something like that. But I think it's cool as an option next to Dondozo, because I feel like Tatsugiri personally, I know a lot of them run Scarf, but I think it's not a Pokemon that necessarily needs like a held item. So it's kind of a cool, like, you lead it with Dondozo, Dondozo goes down, now you can Mega Evolve Tatsugiri. Like, that's where I'm kind of at with it, but I'm curious what you think about it.
Yeah, I think this is I think you hit it on the head. This is a Pokemon that is probably just going to run its Mega because, like, what else are you going to run with it? Like, Sash is cool, Scarf is cool, we've seen Assault Vest before. Like, they're all cool, but it's like, it feels like you never win a game because of your Tatsugiri's item. I think if it gets like Mega Commander, like I've joked before, like, oh, make Commander give like a double Omni Boost, or like 4x Omni Boost. I think that would be stupid. I think the idea of Order Up giving all 3 boosts as well is kind of broken. Like, because then it's like, oh, I click Haze, I click Order Up, I get +1 attack, +1 defense, +1 speed, and it's like, are we really going to get into this cycle of like, you get rid of my stats, but then I, like, I think that would probably be really good. Yeah, look, I think it just depends how it interacts with Dozo. It's probably B tier just because it's like, again, if you're playing Dozo Geary, you're probably playing Mega like Geary. Like, it just makes sense, right? Like maybe Geary is going to be like the only Mega you ever see on a triple Mega team where it's like you play like some 2-2-2 strat where it's like, Megazard Venusaur, then you have like Mega Drill T-Tar, and then you just have Dozo Geary or something like that. And it's like you're playing this like weird 2-2-2 where it's like maybe you literally just have 3 different combinations, all that have a Mega part of it. Yeah, Geary's probably the only Mega I could see ever working as like a 3rd Mega. In saying that, you probably still only ever run 2 max, but yeah, I think, however, the way it functions with Dozo is going to be what's important.
Yeah, I think you're correct with that. Like, the most important thing is that it's already integral to a core team that we've seen do really well. So this just kind of makes that better, which is always good.
I agree.
All right, Mega Baxcalibur. This one is kind of a question mark one for me. Obviously, 175 physical attack, phenomenal. 87 speed, you don't love that, but you still have options that you can get around that. But the problem, like if you have like, say you run like Scale Shot, I think this thing gets Dragon Dance. Does it get Dragon Dance? Yes.
It does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, they screwed it hard because had they just let it hit 97 speed, which was just give it 10 speed, I unironically think this would have been borderline S tier. Because at that stage with the Dragon Dance, it would have outsped everything.
Yeah.
Actually, no, technically, sorry, I don't think it would have got the Z Megas. It would have got Cali's Shadow, but not the Z Megas, or it would have speed tied the Z Megas or something like that. I still think it's good. Its bulk is insane, its attack is insane, and its speed is at a stage where, with Dragon Dance, it's probably still really good. And like Glaber's Rush is broken. Like, I could see a world where you play like Rush, Shard, and DD, and that's your set.
I think that's fair. I mean, the problem I had, I guess, was just when we saw like how regular Baxcalibur had evolved through SV. Like, we saw a lot of loaded dice sets between like Scale Shot and Ice School Spear, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was a really strong core. So it's
I agree.
It's kind of hard to lose that without loaded dice. You don't really want to risk running those because if you just hit twice, you just wasted your turn. You might get your speed boost on Scale Shot, but you might also just get evaporated right after. So I still think...
Hear me out.
Oh, yes, let's hear it.
Ability, Skill Link.
Ooh, that'd be sweet. That'd be sweet. I think they should just give him
now we're
Intrepid
talking
Sword.
about Nesty Mod.
Yeah,
well, I mean, that's been one of the big ones everyone's been talking about, because, look, I think the issue with this Pokemon is it wants to run ground coverage, for, like, the Steel types, which it has. Like, it has high horsepower, which is, like, really good. I do think, like, Dance, Glaive Rush, and high horsepower is, like, maybe okay. But if they were to give it like Skill Link, then you could just go like Scale Shot, Spear, like high horsepower Protect. Given Intrepid Sword, you could probably do the same thing. I still think on balance, this one's gonna be fine. Like I honestly like it's probably B tier just because its speed stat is pretty lackluster. But again, I could also see this one being paired up on Snow and just being like immortal because it has way too much Fizz Def.
Yeah, and at least it does still have access to priority with Ice Shard and Icicle Crash. If you're willing to take that gamble, is still a good move.
Yeah, I mean, Crash is still always good. I think as a balance piece, this one's pretty solid.
How are you feeling, A or B on this one? I think I'd probably just go A because the stats.
I think B.
You like B? I like A just because the
right,
stats,
it's like,
but the...
It's for me it's difficult because it's like when I look at like the other dragons in the A tier, like I just don't know if it's as good as like Chomp or D9. But like at the same time I look at the B tier and it's like it's probably better than like almost like I think it's kind of like right there with Galissapod where it's like this is probably the top of B tier. But like because the B tier is so full, you could also just say they're both the bottom of A tier. Yeah. And I think that's probably fine.
You know what? Let's just go ahead and do that for the fun of the game.
Yeah, because it evens out the tier list, right?
I think this is a pretty good tier list. Is there anything after looking this over that you want to change after seeing it all together?
No, I think this is good. I think the only thing I've noticed now that we've actually done this is I'm looking at this tier list and I've realized if like Heatran and Lucario don't get like Omega broken abilities, I think like the top 5 Megas probably don't change. I still think it's going to be like Salamence, Metagross, like Gengar, Kangaskhan, yeah, I'm actually just really interested to see how this like I guess plays out, because again, like I name those mons. I think Lucario like packs like most of them up if it has Mega Launcher, like Gengar, Metagross, and Kangaskhan like all get bodied if this thing has Mega Launcher, I think.
I think you're right. I think a lot of the old school Megas are surprisingly not power crept by this group, but abilities dependent for sure.
Oh yeah, you just wait till like Raichu gets like electric terrain, you get Mega Launcher Lucario, Earth Eater Heatran, like Drizzle Dragonite, Garchomp's gonna get like, I don't know, Neuroforce or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna get Sand Rush Drill, and then all of a sudden it's like I think if Drill gets Sand Rush, like that mon actually probably is just S tier.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I genuinely think like they need to start giving out those abilities, like you're saying, like Drizzle, Electric Surge, Grassy Surge, because the more you give out those abilities, the more other Pokemon can actually be way better. If you're just centralizing it on the few that we have right now, it makes it so much more difficult to diversify squads.
I agree.
Well, I think this does it, everybody. This is our completed Legend ZA tier list. This is obviously pre-abilities. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see if it shifts when the Champions meta comes out. I want to thank you, Scooteezy, for stopping by and helping me with this tier list. This was awesome. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Scooteezy VGC. I'm only really on, I guess, YouTube and Twitter. I'm not super active on Twitter. I kind of just like shitpost there more than anything. But yeah, look, thanks for having me. I'm very, very excited to, I guess, finally get some more information. There's a lot of rumors that hopefully in the coming days we're going to get a trailer. There's a demo, I think, next weekend at PAX East. So it's all coming together. We are, I guess, very, very close to potentially having this game in our hands. It's crazy to think that like we could be playing in like 2 to 3 weeks from now.
Oh,
some people will be playing next weekend.
I really hope so. That would be amazing.
Super fun.
That would be so awesome.
But yeah, and look, I can't wait to run this tier list back in 2 weeks when we actually have all their abilities.
Yeah. We can see everything we got wrong and everything we got right.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait for like Victreebell to be the only S tier mega from this batch.
It has an anti-Charizard ability that it gets.
Yeah, it's actually just Wonder Guard.
Yeah. Well, this will do it, everybody. I've already said this in the intro, but make sure to check out Scooteezy's video where we covered the old Megas that are returning to Champions as well and did a tier list on that. So when you're done here, head over there, watch both videos, and, you know, that sounds good to me, guys.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. You guys all have a wonderful day. Appreciate you.
See you guys in the next one.